or something like that, right?
Yeah,
Damn.
because you said something wrong and got
Yeah,
defensive
well,
and called
it's
you out.
fine. It's fine. It just
So,
needed
I mean, you
to
can tell me
reconnect the
I'm
hard
wrong,
drive, seeing
right?
as
You can just
everything's on there.
objectively
okay,
correct about
actually,
the exercise.
let's
Okay.
let's go actually to the top. Let's go from other
Okay,
side. Let's
sure.
talk
I'll
about
take
Darius'
it wherever
program.
you want to. We can have it on
Let's
every beach,
and
every
hold the way
shore.
through it.
Sure, let's go.
So you got Darius's program, and you kind of started off by you gave him a kind of a goofy program. You put him at RPE5 at the start without any good progression metrics. He's doing 3 lifting days a week of 4 exercises a day. But you have him doing stuff like isolation forearm work and forearm extension, I believe, during that time, which is just goofy overall.
Can you provide context? Okay.
Everything working.
Okay.
Good to go.
I don't think I can say anything. I don't want to say anything. I don't want to say anything. I don't want to say anything. I don't want the bridge to burn over this. So I'm not gonna say anything. I'm a small dude. Okay? I'm a small guy. I squatted 190 by 5 by 3. Okay? Yesterday. It's the biggest I've squatted in my life. That's all I do. Okay? I'm a small dude. I'm not super muscular. Okay? I'm still working out. So don't ask me anything. Okay? Hold on. What is this? Okay? I'm on my own journey right now, okay? Wait, this is the program. I don't know what you just linked me, this Google spreadsheet. There is no program here. Oh, there is. TSA Intermediate Is this the program? I don't know. Stop, no, I'm retarded. Oh, good job, K Cappuccino, dipshit. Darius linked me some shit, but it's on a spreadsheet. I'm not gonna open that. Okay. Just so that chat has context, so this is the program. On day 1, we're doing incline dumbbell bench press, 35 to 40. I don't know.
This drama is a reminder that the gym flare is a flower.
True. Okay, I don't know why you don't even know my sentence, you fucking inconsiderate fuck. Find who that guy is and ban him. 35 to 40. I don't know if this is the weight it's supposed to be. I don't know what that means. Oh, 35
Let's
to
see
40
what any of this
incline.
is
Okay,
worth.
so
What
we
is
got
this
incline
worth?
dumbbell bench press. We've got dumbbell
Nothing.
lateral raise.
Nothing. Nothing.
We got a dumbbell
nothing,
bicep
nothing.
curl. We got a dumbbell rear delt swing. Okay, 3 sets from, you know,
Looks
different rep
unique.
ranges.
Dog shit. Dog shit. Dog
And then
shit,
RPE5.
Dog shit.
So someone, Jacob and chat. Okay, hold on. If you guys want to be critical, of Nick, you can be critical of Nick. That's fine. But if you say something retarded, I'm also going to say something to you, okay? Destiny, he has no weights given. That's part of why it's retarded, okay? RPE implies a weight. Now, RPE5 is an interesting number to put there, but that still does imply a weight. You don't technically need to tell somebody what weight they need to lift. If you're saying like RPE7, RPE8, it's whatever you can lift that has, you know, 2 or 3 reps left in the tank. That's what I mean. But technically, that is a weight given, okay? That is a weight given, okay? That's confusing for a beginner, no? I have nothing to say about that. I don't know. Okay, day 2 lower. Sumo deadlift. Machine leg extension, hanging knee raise, and leg press calf raise.
The fuck?
Okay.
What does this say? 223
Why are
in the
you avoiding
bank.
saying shit? Because people are real mad about this, okay?
Oh, 23.
We've got the day 3 upper body is wide grip assisted pull-up, high to low cable fly, lying cable face pull, dumbbell forearm extension. Is that... Do you think that's just this? I honestly have no idea what this lift even is.
Yeah, where the fuck is the other heavy leather?
Forearm extension.
You guys see any heavy leather?
What you're gonna do is grab a pair of dumbbells and brace the inside of the forearm against the bench. Let your wrist totally bend, and then extend the wrist up so that you're pulling the palm or the back side of the palm.
Jeez. Okay. Remember everything I say.
Why does it say I have
I'm
534?
So,
Where is the
take
rest of
everything I
my
say with
shit?
many grains of salt, because I am indeed
You are not in a
retard,
guild.
Okay.
How is that
If
possible?
you're doing anything lifting involving these, man, make sure you really know what you're doing, because as soon as you start doing like flexion and shit with your stuff here, you can f your elbow up really hard. I'm not saying it's a bad lift. I don't know if it's bad or not. I have no idea. I'm just saying be really, really careful whenever you're doing lifts like this, because you can f your elbow shit up real hard. This is for every lift. If you're bench pressing and when you push up, you do this thing, that's real bad for you. If you're curling and you curl up and do this, that's also real bad for you. Just be careful. That's all I want to say. You ever do stuff like this, just be careful. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm not saying it's good. I'm just saying be careful, okay? We have day 1, lower. Oh, so it's upper, lower. Oh, that was week 1. Week 2, okay. Day 1 lower, we've got leg press, machine leg curl, machine leg extension, and bicycle crunch. Day 2 upper, we've got incline, dumbbell bench, dumbbell lateral raise, dumbbell bicep curl, dumbbell rear delt swing. Day 3 sumo deadlift, machine leg extension, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so this is what we're looking at. Most of this is in the RP 5 to 7 range, with some notable exceptions. Okay. That's what's being discussed here, okay? All right. Okay, here
I'm
we
just
go.
seeing what I can sell.
All right. Okay, Erudite and Nick are watching, but that's okay. I don't care if they watch.
Why
because
does it
I
say
have no strong opinions
226?
on any of
I'm
this.
so
I'm just here to
confused.
watch and facilitate this for you guys. Okay, here we go.
And
why
your
is that goofy?
justification for this?
What? Hold on, hold
Form
on.
extension
You're
work.
already jumping to a new point. So
Yeah,
why
yeah,
is
no,
that
it's-
goofy?
it's-
Why is
yeah,
the
I'm,
forearm
like, just
isolation
up.
goofy overall?
Forearm extension work is kind of goofy to begin with in terms of what you get in terms of response. And if you're only doing 3 sets a week of an upper lower split, you might only be doing upper body once.
What are we what is this conversation about? Like we watching like fucking gym enthusiasts.
Entire upper body.
What the
If I
fuck are we
remember correctly-
watching, yo?
If I remember correctly,
One
his upper
exercise of
lower
your
is,
only
is,
for that.
is 2 to 1 upper always.
Okay.
I'm not
Then that's
100%
wrong, but
sure positive about that, but I think that's the case.
I still think if you're doing 3 days a week and for exercise a day, doing forearm extension.
Can we go to the forearm?
isolation-
Can we just talk about the forearm extension though? Like, I don't know
Yeah,
why
of
we're
course.
jumping to a new point now. So why is forearm flexion extension goofy?
Well, flexion you can get some growth in, but forearm extension, the response you get for your time put into training is just going to be really, really low.
I would agree. It's like your forearm extensors are small muscles that respond relatively poorly to hypertrophic stimulus. It's not going to be the best bang for your buck if you want to put on overall mass. I would completely agree with that.
Well, and just general in response to your time. I don't
So,
think when I think of a
okay.
twink e-boy that your goal is, I don't think of someone with meaty like lumberjack forearms, do I? I think of a guy with slight arms.
Meaty jumper lumberjack forearms from forearm flexing extension once a week at
No,
moderate.
but if that's 25% of his program, that is what's going to grow the fastest. So you wouldn't want to focus on that.
I don't know if it's 25% of his program, but I
If
think
he's
the
doing
point,
4 exercises and it's 1 of 4,
oh, you mean 25% per day?
yes.
But if there's 2 different upper days, that doesn't mean it's 25% of the program, right? Because it's
Yeah, I'm not
What if
watching this. I can't be
8.5%?
asked. Oh,
You know
no,
what
I'm
is in
with
the
zero
program?
interest, man.
Yes,
Zero interest.
Incompetent? I mean, if you didn't know,
Fucking weirdos. Just go out and fucking go for a run. Do some push-ups and shit. What is all this fucking rocket science?
997,000 off. But you mix up CISA, CISA, a Homeland Security Agency, with the Center for Internet Security, the CIS, which is a non-profit. In fact, you added an A to CIS. I think people can see it there. In brackets. To make that false claim. It's just error after error, Matt, on just this one.
Okay, so it didn't load it.
There it is. There it is. Look.
Didn't it?
Oh no!
To him. Matt Taibbi, a National Magazine award-winning journalist who runs the Racket News Substack and broke the so-called Twitter file story, joins me now. Matt, thanks so much for coming on the
Matt,
show.
the
Why
man,
do
the
you
myth, the legend.
believe these Twitter files are so important, and what should our viewers know about what's in them that they don't know? Just briefly, your top lines.
First of all, I never said anything about woke McCarthyism, so do you want to take that back?
I didn't put that in quotes. I said a so-called woke McCarthyism. Jim Jordan has also talked about that, and that was a line into Jim Jordan. But happy to say that you haven't described it as McCarthyism. You've described it, I think, as a digital censorship complex. Industrial.
I said digital McCarthyism, not woke McCarthyism.
Okay, digital McCarthyism. We can correct that. Yes.
Okay, good. So you started off as I expected with the whole "what happened to you, man" routine. Well done.
Oh my
So,
God.
Yeah,
This guy does not sound media ready.
The stories speak for themselves. I don't have to talk about how important or not they are. The audiences are interested in them because of what they show. That there was an organized, systematic.
I mean, am I really gonna sit and sell them for like
structure in
2 gold?
place for the
Seems
FBI and the
totally
DHS
waste
to talk
of
not just to
time.
Twitter and to forward thousands of
1
moderation
gold
requests to
each.
companies like Twitter,
Fuck
but
this
also
shit.
to
Like 1,000
virtually
gold.
every
Who the
other
fuck cares?
social media platform. This is
Zero interest.
essentially an organized system
Get
of
the fuck out my bag.
quasi
19 silver, 5
and it's
silver. Get
alarming.
the
It's a lot
fuck
more
out of
than
here.
what we thought was going to be there. And again, people
These
are
can all
just looking at what we
stay.
found.
They're
They don't have
shiny.
to,
I like
make
shiny.
claims about it. They're upset about it because of what they're
I
reading.
can sell some of these.
Well, not everyone's upset, and you do make claims, so let's talk about that today. And Matt, we're going to disagree a lot
87
today.
gold
You've
for
already
this.
started with disagreements, so let's start with some
Selling
agreement.
some of
Should
this.
the FBI be wasting so much time and taxpayers' money flagging so many tweets to Twitter?
Let's see what we
In
can
my
sell.
view, no. Does the FBI have far too cozy a relationship with social media companies? Yes, I agree. But do
Yeah,
your
let's
files
definitely sell
provide
some of these.
evidence of government censorship?
Primal
think so.
Fire,
Let's just take the very
270
first example
gold.
you cited in the very first thread, which went mad viral. You wrote, by
Mad
2020,
thing.
requests from connected actors to delete tweets were routine. One executive would write to another, more to review from the Biden team. The reply would come back, handled. Now that sounds bad, but aside from the fact that the Biden team was not the government at the time, it turns out that at least 3, maybe 4 of those 5 tweet URLs that you link to, that they link back to non-consensual nude images of Hunter.
The Hunter Biden pics. I think these were the ones that we looked up on stream because I was curious, because that is a spooky point. Are they making requests to take down like conservative media stuff? Like, and then when I looked up most of them, it was just Hunter Biden cock.
Biden. Why was it wrong, Matt, for the Biden campaign, not the government at the time, to ask Twitter to enforce its own terms of service against people
Bolt of
basically posting revenge
Runeclaw.
porn? Do you understand?
Why have I even got
why
any
people
of this
question
shit?
your credibility on this whole project when you omit such crucial context right from the get-go?
First of all, the reason that's important is because the ordinary person can't just call up Twitter and have something taken off Twitter. If you put something nasty about me on Twitter, I can't just call up Twitter and talk to the government liaison, whose name I won't mention on the air, and say, hey, can you take care of this? And have them take care of that. That doesn't work for the ordinary person.
So, firstly, huge goalpost movement. He's saying for the ordinary person. That is correct. Well, the ordinary person can report, but they don't have direct lines. However, this has nothing to do with government preference. Large talent agencies, large organizations, probably media, probably people with verified account liaisons and shit, people that communicate with Twitter, can do this. But that's standard with every single company. That's probably an okay thing as well, right? Like if somebody me over on YouTube, it's probably going to be a little bit more difficult for me to get it taken down than like Linus Tech Tips, who's probably got like a quicker line to YouTube because they're larger people and there are special liaisons for like different types of figures. That's not special government preferred action, and that's not even necessarily like a bad thing. And it has something to do with government favorability. He also admitted he has the ability to call them. Of all the things I learned earlier today that Substack links are being blocked on this platform, when I asked why, I was told it's a dispute over the new Substack Notes platform. Oh, so he has the ability to ask questions directly as well, which wouldn't surprise me either, because he's like literally in direct contact with Elon Musk, who owns the platform.
Biden campaign could do it. Donald Trump could do it. But I can't do it. Can you do it? I don't think so.
Is that reasonable? Is that... Hold on. Is this guy going to be in Austin? Oh, it's called Minds Fest? Chris Williamson, Matthew Israeli, Peter Bogdosian, Daryl Davis. No, okay. Oh, no, fuck. Where are the Twitter files, guys? Are none of them... Did they all drop out? Oh. Did they all drop out? I think the Leighton guy quit. He emailed me. I don't want to say anything incorrect about him, but... Oh, Schellenberger was supposed to be here, too. Fuck. I shouldn't have done that one debate. I am never going into Exxon's offices, having one of their engineers show me what they've done, and then publishing a story on Exxon's platform released on their website. I would never do that. That's called PR. At any point in any of these Twitter threads, was anybody from the FBI contacted and asked for comment?
What you're saying is that what we reported was therefore ipso facto a puff piece for Twitter.
Yes. That's what I think.
I find that like wild and also offensive. Like, do you think we have
Oh,
no
do you
If
now?
I was a journalist, I'm never in my entire life going to write a story about a company based solely on the information the company gives me.
Would you not do a story on the CIA based on records from the CIA?
Absolutely not. You would probably reach out to the people for comment. You would always corroborate. If the CIA released stuff and they said, hey, here's exactly what happened with JFK and here's 7 emails for it or whatever, I wouldn't go, oh, it's settled. And you guys wouldn't either. You would investigate.
I wish I had done that, Destiny. I think I'm totally with you on that.
You didn't answer my question. Why didn't you tell us what were in the URLs? Because it sounds much worse than it is. When you discover that actually it was simply a violation of Twitter's terms of service, that these were nude, non-consensual images for Hunter Biden, why not mention that? Did you not know? In which case, that's kind of incompetent. Or did you know and you were just hiding it from people?
Incompetent?
I mean, if you didn't know, if you put up...
MSNBC. My God, you got 6 consecutive years of just screw-ups on the Russia story.
Well, that was predictable. If we're going to do predictable... can you answer the question? Did you know what was in the URLs when you posted them? It's a simple question.
What was in the URLs?
Why didn't you tell us?
I don't need to.
Because it's relevant. You don't think it's relevant that it's a violation of Twitter's terms of service to have nude pictures of Hunter Biden up?
Look, every time they make a request to Twitter, they're doing what you're arguing. They're making the argument that, oh, we're not actually asking, this isn't censoring, this is just the government pointing out that
that's what the emails show that you posted. They don't demand anything, do they? They say, can you check if this is in line with your terms of
He shouldn't have let him get away with it. He should have let him keep going. They do what? Like, they take down pics of Hunter Biden? Like, you should have just let him run with that. What do you, like, Jesus. It wouldn't let me choose the correct first mirror. I don't think the sniper is good. I think you want the 2 Rangers, but for some reason it wouldn't let me click one or the other.
Service. And those URLs...
I kind of wish I could stream this on YouTube as well. I'm literally streaming on YouTube right now, August. You fucking idiot. You fucking moron.
weren't, so I'm wondering why you wouldn't mention that.
First of all,
got the best meals anyways.
I can't even report that yet. All right. When they're doing this, it's...
Bro, is he retarded? Wait, what is the... Does he not have any, like, media training? Or does he just do, like, behind-the-scenes stuff? Has he given interviews before where it's not just people filleting him? I'm actually shocked. Like, Tate was way better, and he had a really rough interview. What did he expect going into this? Like, these are, like... We haven't even gotten to, like, very hard or difficult questions yet. And he's been doing this consistently. This is, like, his life now. It's like these Twitter files. How is he not ready for anything?
They say, can you check if this is in line with your terms of service? And those URLs weren't, so I'm wondering why you wouldn't mention that.
First of all, the government, I can't even report that yet. All right. When they're doing this, it's self-evident what they're doing, and I don't have to make claims about what it is. I can just show you what they're doing. Everybody knows.
Listen to these words. Listen to how cold his mind is. Can you hear this? Can you imagine, like, a journalist, okay? A journalist, all right? My goal as a journalist is to show you things that you don't know about. That's what my goal is. I want to dig into companies. I want to find information. I'm going to show you, the people, this shit that I found. And then somebody asks you, like, bro, I mean, like, I don't have to explain. I mean, just look, I don't have to explain anything. What do you mean? It's your job to explain things. That's literally what the fuck you do. That's what you're here for. That's the whole purpose of your existence.
That's the problem. You didn't show the world that the Biden campaign asked for nude images. You didn't. Other people pointed out what those URLs were. You never did. And that's the problem, Matt. There's a lot of omission.
There's a lot that I wrote. Am I going to describe every single thing that I published?
That was the first Twitter file and the most viral tweet. Noam Chomsky, who you know and I know we like,
which is about a subject you guys screwed up.
Said has said one of the greatest forms of censorship in the media is censorship by omission. You've heard that quote. There's a lot of omission in the Twitter files. A lot you and your colleagues don't tell us. You mentioned in passing, for example, in your very first thread that the Trump White House made requests of Twitter too, i.e. the actual government, not the Biden campaign. But you didn't tell us what those Trump requests were. It took an actual Twitter whistleblower. Well, it took an actual Twitter whistleblower in front of Congress to reveal that Trump once demanded Twitter take down a mean tweet about him from the model Chrissy Teigen. You didn't mention that in any of your Twitter files posts.
Because I didn't have that story. I don't have it.
Weren't they in the emails? Weren't you given free reign and access to see anything you wanted? Now, here's I don't know if this journalist is going to get this, the MSNBC guy. Here's a really important question. You said you had access to everything. One is that you're either lying because you had it, you didn't report on it, or two is that Elon Musk didn't give it to you, so you didn't have all the information you thought you did, right? The whole point of the Twitter file was supposed to be that you guys had unrestricted access to every possible thing in the world. And now you're telling me that there's something that was pretty fucking important, the current sitting government administration, and you didn't report on it. It was making requests of Twitter, you didn't report on it. Why?
Doesn't that tell you something? That you had the Biden story and not the Trump story, that Elon Musk was giving you one side of the story.
No, you don't understand. First of all, that first batch of files resulted in the firing of Twitter's general counsel.
Oh my God.
We were looking at something on a very short time frame, but we didn't have it. I went out of my way to report that fact. I was the first person who reported that Donald Trump made requests and had them honored on Twitter.
But you outlined which ones the Biden team did without giving full context, but you didn't outline which ones the Trump. Well, maybe you should ask yourself why it is you didn't have it.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this. A lot of your own Twitter files reporting shows top Twitter employees
They don't
struggling.
have it either, by the way. The whistleblower in Congress didn't have it either.
Why would Congress have it?
She did say under oath that this actually happened, so you can accuse her of what you want later.
I don't have to.
Making money, boys. We're making money.
Out of interest, Matt, the emails you show really difficult content moderation decisions. They don't show Twitter rolling over. They show people actually having really interesting discussions, unlike now where Elon Musk just dictates that NPR is state affiliated and it happens overnight. They also show Twitter resisting requests to things that members of Congress have asked them to take down, members of the FBI. So I wonder, how do you call this a censorship industrial complex when Twitter, according to your own files, is saying no a lot of the time? I mean, if it was censorship, they'd have just rolled over every time Agent Chan of the FBI or Congressman Adam
Good
Schiff
Destiny
made
argument.
a demand, but they didn't.
I published an explicit tweet which describes Twitter's internal ads
Pleasure doing
policy,
business with
where they say
Have I
publicly,
got a
we
deal
are
for
going to
you."
represent that we make these decisions
Glad I
at
can
our sole
help.
discretion. Internally, we are going to act when the U.S. intelligence agency, the U.S. intelligence community, that's the quote, when the U.S. intelligence community determines that an account is linked to a
I ain't
foreign
got it.
malign threat
You don't
actor.
want it.
So they're talking about their two-phase system in the
pleasure was
document.
all mine.
Now, yes,
But your words, Matt, you say, to their credit, they turned down requests. You say it yourself. Those are your words in the Twitter files.
Yeah, they did, but this is a story that has multiple layers to it. The government is constantly
nuanced.
applying pressure to these companies. It starts with a baseline of them not wanting to be engaged at all with the government. They're to have a very limited relationship. The door gets kicked open when in 2017, particularly in the fall of 2017, when the Senate Intelligence Committee starts leaning on Twitter to endorse their accusations that there had been a substantial number of bots linked to Russia's Internet Research Agency. And essentially it was made plain to Twitter that they would both be subject to lots of bad press and perhaps increased regulation if they didn't communicate with the Senate Intelligence Committee in the way that they wanted.
But communicating is not rolling over, Matt. All I'm saying is I don't see the evidence. If I saw evidence... They didn't. Adam Schiff says take down a tweet, and they don't, according to your own files.
What's Adam Schiff gonna do? Is Adam Schiff the CIA? Is the CIA gonna come to Twitter and say
So
this
do
is
you
a
have
deal breaker?
evidence? So
Do you have
evidence that the CIA demanded a tweet got taken down and they did it immediately? I haven't seen it.
Oh, well, we think it's the CIA.
Hey, your feet find good trail.
He sounds like a fucking moron.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm in Clown Town. I feel like I'm in Clown World right now. There are conservatives in my YouTube chat right now that defend this guy. Are you serious?
I have no idea what we're talking about.
It feels like a YouTube
just
video
saying, guys.
essayist went into a mainstream
I don't know if
media
you realized it.
battle
but
room with no preparation.
fuck, skipping frames. It
Do you
said.
have evidence that the CIA demanded a
Due
tweet
to
got taken down and they did
encoding
it
lag.
immediately?
Are you lagging?
Well, we think it's the CIA, quote-unquote other government agencies.
We think.
We know that the CIA was present
You
at
think
their
it's the CIA. You began the interview saying you don't make claims, it's just evidence.
I don't know if they're on like a time limit. They must be on a time limit. Because like these are scenarios where like just let him talk. Just be quiet and let him talk because this guy is stumbling hard. Holy shit.
Okay, let's talk about your evidence, Matt, because
Wait a minute,
as I say,
wait a minute.
people.
Quote me directly if you're going to do this. Quote me directly.
What am I quoting? You just said this. We think it's the
yeah,
CIA.
he just
I
asked
haven't
you.
seen a single Twitter file
I did.
where the CIA tells Yoel Roth to take it down.
We showed reports that came through the Foreign Interference Task Force. We know it came through the FBI. We know that's the destination by which it came, but the origin of the document we couldn't determine because, and there's lots of these. We have hundreds.
There are lots of these, and Matt, Twitter doesn't deny that they take stuff down.
Text from bots.
Twitter put out a report in
Caroline, and you're going to let me answer the question? Because you're accused of getting this wrong. So, these documents, I went out and I talked to every former intelligence
I'm so confused right now.
that I could to try to identify
Not with this interview.
where these documents came from.
Where the
And I
fuck
ended up
is
quoting,
my
John
map?
Kiriakou
Apparently I have
I think one other
a ton of
person saying
maps,
that
but I
looks
can't
about
find
right.
them anywhere.
Because
Let's see,
everything,
where is it?
the people that I talked
Heavy
to
leather. Where the
thought
fuck
that
is
this
it?
was probably
Heavy.
you know, a CIA document that they thought that it looked like
The
that. It
26.
could have been from some
Where's the other one?
agencies, But I did what I put the document up, and I said, "This is what it looks like. This is what these
Heavy
people
leather.
thought it was."
Where's the other one?
I reported that other people talked about OGA. That's.
And I'm not, Matt, just to be clear, I'm not disputing that. I'm not disputing any of that. I'm saying there's no evidence that the government is
There's
ordering
nothing
Twitter
in
to
here.
take
What are
bunches
you
of
on
stuff down,
about?
and Twitter's agreeing to everything. Twitter, hold on, let me finish.
Bang.
I'll let you finish. Let me finish.
200.
Twitter put out a report in 2021, as you know, which must shut down. A
son of a
transparency report. They
bitch.
said the government asked us to take stuff down, and we took down 40% of what we
Idiot.
were asked to take down.
Idiot, man.
Me, at the end of my conversation with one of the Twitter Files guys and then a couple of the peripheral journalists, that was my suggestion, where we agreed. It was like, oh, wouldn't it be cool if there was like a transparency report for some of these social media companies, where maybe at the end of the year they just say like, oh, the government asked us to take down these things and we did it. And it sounds like they do that. This is already something they do.
They've never denied that they take stuff down. Yeah, I think it's serious. I think if you were right, it would be 100%. The fact that it's not 100%, the majority of stuff they turn down, doesn't tell me there's a censorship complex. I don't understand how it. Do I think it's serious that they take down 40% of stuff? Maybe, but that's not. Nothing you showed suggests. In fact, the agent from the FBI sent emails saying, "Hey, do you mind taking this? Do you mind looking at this and seeing if it's in line with your terms of service?" That is not the police state that I think is being painted by Jim Jordan. By the way, you said about factual inaccuracies, Matt. Let's talk factual inaccuracies. Stanford. You talk a lot about the Election Integrity Project in the Twitter Files, which Stanford and the University of Washington founded to monitor attacks on our elections. And you say some stuff about them that a lot of your critics say is not true, and that affects your credibility. You said the EIP was founded in response to the government dropping its proposal for a disinformation government. Well, there you are. We're quoting you on screen. It wasn't. It was formed 2 years earlier.
Twitter
You
used to
suggest
report
it was
this, but must have
government
stopped it.
funded.
Oh, nice.
It was founded in response to the government dropping its proposal for a disinformation government. Well, there you are. We're quoting you on screen. It wasn't. It was formed 2 years earlier. You suggest it was government funded, even though during the 2020 election that you're covering, it wasn't. You say they labeled 22 million tweets as misinformation in the run-up to the 2020 vote. They didn't. They flagged 3,000 election misinformation tweets for labeling, so you were only 21,997,000 off. And you also claim the EIP was, finish the question, you can come back in. You also claim the EIP was partnered with the government cybersecurity and infrastructure agency, CISA, to censor Twitter, but you mix up CISA, CISA, a Homeland Security agency, with the Center for Internet Security, the CIS, which is a non-profit. In fact, you added an A to CIS, I think people can see it there, in brackets, to make that false claim. It's just error after error, Matt, on just this one topic.
Error. But the other ones aren't. 22 million number came from their own report?
Yeah, it came from a report in March. Do you know what the 22 million
I mean, this is
Can you
just
tell me? Because
cool
we checked.
at this
22
point.
million is the number of tweets about election misinformation that they just mapped. How many tweets were they? The ones they actually flagged to Twitter before the election, 22 million came after the election. It wasn't in the run-up. They flagged 3,000. So you were off by 21,997,000. It's another error.
They've said a lot of things. I stand by my story.
What story? You stand by 22 million were flagged in the run-up to the election.
They said a lot of things,
in
bro.
March 2021, which was after the election.
No, this came in their report after the election.
which was about some total of tweets that they counted on the election. What they flagged to Twitter was 2,980 tweets, I believe. So that's nowhere near 22 million. Come on, what? You got something wrong. You got CISA wrong. Why did you add A? Okay, Matt, why did you add A in square brackets? Do you understand why people worry about?
I actually thought that.
And why didn't you fix it? Why didn't you check the tweet before I came
Almost
on
like
air?
editors
It's
are
been 3
important.
weeks since it was flagged to you. Why not fix it? Do you not have editors at the racket?
I didn't realize
They didn't
that
have
until now.
editors for any of these
Okay,
stories.
what about the date? You got the date wrong when it was founded. You said it was founded in response to the Disinformation Board. That was last year.
Well, because Stamos is saying in the video that you know, we were sort of created to fill the gaps.
No, that's not what you say in the tweet. That's not what you say in the tweet. You say
SIO was created in 2008.
No. You say, this is what you say, that the EIP was created after the public uproar.
Yo, what am I doing? Why am I still here, like, sorting this shit out? I mean, I've got to do it, don't I? Fucking hell.
After the...
That's what your words. You say, to quote you, after public uproar, pause the Orwellian Disinformation Governance Board, Stanford created the EIP. That's wrong.
Well, that's what they say.
You don't need sources, Matt. You could check the EIP website. It says it was created in 2020.
Well, that's the date that I just said.
And the Disinformation Board was 2022.
Okay. All right, well then that is an error.
Okay, so let's talk about Elon Musk. We're talking about Twitter files. You have talked about...
Yo, he's absolutely obliterated him. What the fuck?
I get that you don't want to reveal your sources. You're a journalist, but Barry Weiss has outed him. He's outed himself. What's interesting about Elon Musk is that we checked. You've tweeted over 30 times about Musk since he announced he was going to buy Twitter last April, and not a word of criticism about him in any of those 30-plus tweets. Musk is a billionaire who's been found to have violated labor laws multiple times, including in the past few days. He's attacked labor unions, reportedly fired employees on a whim, slammed the idea of a wealth tax, told his millions of followers to vote Republican last year, and in response to a right-wing coup against Bolivian leftist president Evo Morales, he tweeted, "We'll coup whoever we want." And yet you've been silent on all of that. How did you go, Matt, from being the scourge of Wall Street, the man who called Goldman Sachs the vampire squid, to being unwilling to say anything critical at all about this right-wing reactionary anti-union billionaire?
What do you mean, yeah?
Hello? Am I still on?
Yes, you're still on. I'm just wondering how come you've never criticized Musk despite all that?
Look, so I like Elon Musk. I met him. This is part of the calculation when you do one of these stories. Are they going to give you information that's going to make you look stupid? Do you think their motives are sincere about doing X or Y? And I didn't. I thought. I mean, I did. I thought his motives were sincere about the Twitter files, and I admired them. I think he did a tremendous public service in opening the files up. But that doesn't mean I have to agree with him about everything. And
Agreed, I agree with you. But you never disagree with him. You've gone silent. People would say that's access journalism.
No, I haven't reported anything that limits my ability to talk about Elon Musk.
So will you criticize him today? For banning journalists, for working with Modi government to shut down speech, for being anti-union? You can go for it. I'll give you as much time as you like. Would you like to criticize Musk now?
No, I don't particularly want to. Look, I didn't criticize him really before, and I think that
I kind of feel sorry for the guy, to be honest. I mean, there's a
right
part of me
direction.
that feels, there's a part of me.
It's the same Twitter that he's running right now.
Disagree with him. If you want to ask, I think this
Understood,
question
Matt. Well, I'll ask you a specific one.
No.
It's not in bad faith, Matt. Sorry. You say that Twitter... Hold on. Let me finish my question. You're saying that he's good for Twitter and good for speech. I'm saying he's using Twitter to help one of the most right-wing governments in the world censor speech. I will criticize that. Will you?
I have to look at the story first. I'm not looking at it now.
Hold on. I posted the story 2 weeks ago. You tweeted at me,
I don't watch the Mehdi Hassan show.
You do, actually you do, because you tweeted at me saying, invite me on the show and I'll tell you my views. Here you are, here's your view.
Oh my god, destruction, bro. This guy's getting annihilated.
It was actually
man.
over this exact tweet. Wow, this was done at the request of the Indian government. Apparently, Twitter has blocked the accounts of several high-profile Canadians, including NDP leader Jagmeet Singh and poet Rupi Kaur, from internet users in India. I'm sure Taibbi is all over this. Why don't you invite me on your show to talk about it, since you're so absolutely sure of what I'll say? What the
Guy's getting annihilated, bro.
Why?
Yeah, and you said, look, we'll read your words. Why don't you invite me on your show to talk about it since you're so absolutely sure of what I'll say? You're right, I'm not sure. What is your view on Musk working with Modi to censor speech?
That's what you ask him about the particulars about it, but listen, this came up the first time. I think it was Twitter Files number 6, when you said after this was a big one that we had done about the relationship between Twitter, the FBI, and the DHS. And as that story came out, you were giving me a hard time about tweeting through it, I think was the quote. Essentially, you said, you don't, so essentially, you're arguing that this information was not in the public interest, that I somehow shouldn't have done this story that I'd worked hard on.
I worked hard on it.
Elon Musk tweeted something? You don't think that story was
he banned journalists. I think hold on, Matt. If you're doing a story about free speech on Twitter and the head of Twitter bans journalists, yeah, I think most people. By the way, Barry Weiss, your partner in crime on that, your colleague, your reporter. Sorry for that euphemism. Your reporting colleague. She actually did call him out. So it's weird that Barry Weiss had more integrity on that. Some might argue, your critics might say, than you did. Look, we're running out of time. You don't want to talk about India? That's fine. You can go away and research it. But you volunteered to come on the show to talk about it. I got to ask you about the clip on Joe Rogan. You've seen the clip. It was it was mentioned at Congress. I do want to get your response to it. Can we play the clip of you telling Joe Rogan about how you should deal with sources who give you information? Let's play that clip.
With any kind of journalist, like once you start getting handed things, then you've
over.
Lost. You know what I mean? They have you at that point, and you got to get out of that habit. You know, it's like, or you can't cross that line.
So per your own words, Matt, you crossed that line, and Musk has you. Those are your words.
The hilarity of this coming from MSNBC, which did nothing but vomit up fake Russiagate stories that came straight from the FBI for 6 consecutive years that you guys still haven't apologized for.
I wasn't there in that period, so I've got nothing to apologize. I'm asking you your words. Did you cross a line? It's a very simple question. You can what about and deflect. It's a simple question. We played a clip for you. I'm giving you a chance to answer. Did you cross the line? Your words.
No, I did not. The stories are self-contained stories that hold up in themselves. And what I was talking about in the Joe Rogan story, I was quoting a passage from Seymour Hersh's book, Reporter, when he was talking about when he was given a story by the CIA about an Israeli spy that they had caught. And he was saying something to the effect of, I, who had always gotten the material, was being handed the material. So, yeah, look, it sounds bad, but this stuff is clearly in the public interest. It's real, it's true, and I'm doing the best I can to report it. The question is, the test you always have with your sources is whether or not this stuff is in the public interest and whether it's accurate. And apparently I've gotten like one thing wrong or a few things wrong, but mostly I think these stories are going to hold up over the test of time, unlike your Russiagate story.
Russiagate?
So let me ask you this, Matt, and you're going to say this is a bad faith question, but let me just be clear. I'm not questioning your work ethic. You keep saying, you seem to be offended. I'm sure you work very hard. I was a big fan of yours for many years. I've always admired your writing. And which is why I have to ask this last question, which you're going to say in bad faith, but I promise it is. It's genuinely as a former fan. You tweeted in response to Jim Jordan, and you started the interview saying, my journey. You have been on a journey for many of us. You said it was an honor. Thank you, Chairman Jim Jordan. It was an honor. A lot of people think that sounded a bit fawning to one of the most right-wing members of Congress. Later, you meet Ted Cruz.
I don't think it's an honor to be invited to Congress.
I nearly forgot what I wanted to do.
He calls you a true patriot, and you're all looking very intense in that picture. I wonder, when you met Ted Cruz, did you tell Ted Cruz that how you wrote in 2015 that he has, quote, big doses of Tea Party energy, and in 2018 that he's like an incurable skin condition? Do you understand why, Matt, those people who have read your stuff find it amazing now, the people you are?
Ted Cruz knows what I've written about him over the years. He knows that I talked about him as, I described him as having a face like a waterlogged Reagan mask sewn together at gunpoint. He knows all that stuff. But that's the
Twitter file.
This is America. We don't have to agree all the time. I don't have to like them these people all the time. They're on this issue. They're giving oxygen to something that I think is important, that I think a lot of people is important. And if he wants to meet me, that's fine. If Jim Jordan wants me to come talk in front of Congress, I'm happy to do it. I'm happy to answer questions. If I'm wrong about something, I'm happy to answer that too. But
I guess I guess where we disagree is
that I'm committing some kind of a capital offense by testifying in Congress about my own reporting, answering questions factually, and meeting these people is ridiculous.
I guess where we disagree
It is an honor to talk to Congress. It was an honor to talk to Congress, and I'm proud that I did that.
I mean, not every congressional committee is an honor to appear in front of. I'm pretty sure it wasn't an honor to be invited when people were invited to the House Un-American Activities Committee. I mean, this is the point, Matt. The context, and we're out of time, sadly, but the context is that the Republicans are banning books and threatening the press. Ron DeSantis is threatening to get rid of anonymous sources.
Again,
and you're telling us
mentioning something that I didn't write about. How many
I
things
didn't say you wrote about it. Well, exactly. That's the problem, that you seem to think the Democrats, not the Republicans, are a big threat to speech, and I just don't see it. I wish we had more time to get into that.
Democrats
but we
are
spent a lot of time.
Are you crazy? I mean, you don't think the Democrats are a threat to speech? Have you been paying attention?
Yes, I think all politicians are a threat to speech. But in this country, if you think the Republican Party is not the biggest threat to speech, then I don't know what to say to you. Maybe you should log off a bit and go to Florida. We have to disagree. We'll have to disagree on that. I think the black voter who was arrested in Florida, or the woman arrested for taking an abortion pill, might not say that Cat Turd 2 being de-amplified was the biggest story of the year. But we will have to leave it there, Matt. Thank you for appearing on the show.
What about the Hunter Biden story?
Appreciate your time. I don't think I've ever written about the Hunter Biden story, so maybe you should apologize to me for putting words in my mouth. You said at the beginning I put words. I never said a word about the Hunter Biden story, but we will be right back.
Jesus Christ. This wasn't live, right? Why not just book like an hour or two for an interview like this? The world is in a greater peril from those who tolerate or encourage evil than from those who actually commit it. Good friend of the stream, Albert Einstein, referencing an interview he was summarizing of Pablo Casals. It's too brute. We've already gone over the insertion of Ian Kaczynski, currently known as Vosh, formerly known as Irish Laddie, into the YouTube and Twitch sphere. In this section, I want to focus on how Ian chooses to operate in this space and how the intentional mischaracterizations he makes of me are ultimately harmful to both me and the work that I do. While I repeatedly get characterized as being obsessed by both him and his community, Ian is easily the most prevalent puppet master of this narrative. There's nothing obsessive about covering some of the most popular political figures in this space making commentary about hot topic political issues. The only goal of framing criticisms in this light is to escape any and all responsibility for the things one says and give oneself a pass to endlessly attack the people covering you. It would be impossible for any mainstream figure like Sean Hannity or Tucker Carlson to start claiming that rival pundits are obsessive stalkers, and this situation is no different. Ian has always been someone who's been an extremist in his political ideals, even back in 2012 claiming that we ought to sacrifice intellectual honesty for the purpose of the progressive movement.
It would be detrimental in the sense that you wouldn't get the same frenzy, blind, anti-intellectual mob mentality following you, but it wouldn't be detrimental in serving a greater intellectual purpose to mankind, I think, in my opinion.
That's your opinion, and look, ideologically,
That's
I
so
would
biased.
nothing more than for us to be able to frankly and candidly discuss all issues with nothing more than the sincerest of intellectual honesty. The only problem is, and I said the same thing about discussing differences about races and gender, so this is something we're going to have to agree to disagree with.
Okay.
Sometimes, if intellectual honesty is the cost of a successful improvement of the state of humanity, then sometimes that just has to be made. And
he's also caused some conservative members of my community, namely XSkillsMe, to leave after making multiple overtures advocating violence against conservatives. This is stuff that he said, I think, on stream and in my
I think this is actually a pretty astute comparison. I'm a leftist. I'm a communist. I believe that the property rights of the wealthy should not be respected. I feel that their assets should be seized from them, and that many of them should be executed for
Easy game.
the workers of this country.
Take from the rich, give to the poor.
On stage, and I express
I mean, what could go wrong, right?
You know, I have an interesting mention from you where you say that I have all of the bullet attracting characteristics of a human. Do you remember saying that about me?
Yes, I stand by it.
To be clear, so to be clear as chat, Irish Laddie has basically said he would give me the bullet in his real world. So while he's here whining about
Right, where are we going, guys?
Treating him, we're coming into this with him.
We're going to the
basically saying
rarest
he would
one.
kill me under his political system.
Are we starting off with the rarest one?
All right, okay. For one, I didn't say
Seriously? You guys are gonna make me go to fucking older man?
But would you be killed generally? I don't know. You make a solid case every time you open your mouth.
Fine, we'll go to older man.
Right, but leftist working every day and you have me killed and other people like you.
No. 1 second. Before I do that, we need just one more add-on.
You aren't in the
One
demographic
more.
that would be like killed, right? You do realize that.
Damn, you're not enough of a capitalist.
Yeah, no. You told me. I mean, I hope.
Yeah, no. Like I keep
would not-
saying this. I don't know why. For you, excuse me, it would be a matter of pleasure. But for other people,
Why do you keep joking like that when he keeps railing you for it? Has anyone here ever actually wanted to, you know, do a terrorism against groups like that? No meme, not gonna elaborate anything. I don't know, I just wish neo-Nazis were more scared for their life. Maybe just a backpack left at a rally. You know, a classic. It'd only take one bombing to throw the entire alt-right into chaos. Can you imagine TD and 8chan?
Yikes.
If a Nazi rally was bombed, holy fuck. The salt alone would ethically justify the deaths of many people. Thank you, Jen. And I mean, hopefully the culprit wouldn't be found. God, I can't believe Nazis can just congregate and nobody is doing anything drastic. A few hundred dudes in a crowd chanting blood and soil, a single bomb or a well-timed burst of rifle fire could really make racists afraid again, remind them that they're alone and in peril. Keep in mind, in the United States of America, you do have a First Amendment right, even if you are a Nazi, to go and march up and down whatever streets you want. It used to be a right that we cherished in this country. Also, the scary thing about comments like this are, I'm pretty sure my community would count as a Nazi community, so I don't know if they'd want to ban like a Destiny GG meetup, but hey, it is what it is. Vosh has flirted with the idea of being more or less radical over time, but for the most part, he's always been considered significantly to the left of me. Ian was a highly active member of my community and has stated multiple times that he'd watched every video and debate I'd done.
Twitter because lefties like to jerk themselves off over shit that I say about workers or whatever.
Embarrassing as it is to admit, I have watched every single YouTube video that has been produced by your editor over the past 2 years.
In March of 2019, it had been brought to my attention by a few individuals that Ian was engaging in some form of long-term sexual pressuring of an 18-year-old woman in my community. As my fan base was currently undergoing a fairly radical schism at the time, I had to figure out a way to handle the situation that didn't make it look as though I was only punishing Ian for being a leftist. I decided to do a public reading of the logs, first to my community, to see what the general reaction would be to the behavior before revealing the culprit. His behavior was almost universally condemned, and it was only once I revealed who the accused was that some members of my community changed their mind and said I was being too harsh. This is where the classic, as I'm reading the logs, this is Train, Omega lol, Pepe laugh. This has to be Train. Please don't flirt with me. Yikes, lol. Nathan, yikes. Wee you. And then finds out it's Irish laddie. Yikes, Destiny. Why leak this shit? Fuck you. I have a clean as fuck record. Destiny's pretending like he doesn't do anything, so he just leaks shit. What the fuck? Destiny, you're gonna say all this shit and call someone out on a stream and not give a friend a chance to defend himself? This seems vindictive as fuck. He says you posted misinformation. Regardless, the die had been cast. I brought Ian into Discord to have a conversation about what had transpired, but ultimately was forced to kick him from my Discord server for some time to protect members of my community. The entirety of their Discord DMs can be found here, and then this is a link in our archive to all of their conversations. You can go and do that in your own time on that. Ian was incredibly upset at Poppy post-accusation, even though he had continued to harass her after his apology, and made references to either silencing her by attacking her in Discord, smearing and attacking her with his Discord community, or about how she was a disgusting human being who never needed an apology, who needed to be reduced to a sobbing mess. This is Poppy talking about how even after the apology, he would still make weird comments and attack her. I won't read this whole thing. This is Vosh signaling to his Discord. Should I at Poppy and DGG and tell her I'm onto her shit? Maybe I can scare her into shutting her up. This is Poppy complaining about how even once he was blocked, after I blocked him for trying to groom me when I was going through a traumatic experience as an autistic young person, he told me he wanted to prolapse my anus and rape me for months on end. He did not stop until mods got involved, never apologized.
Really nasty.
And then this is a video.
Really nasty stuff. Nasty bottle. But that's the gist of it. Poppy is not worth apologizing to. She is barely worth the fucking intrinsic human rights to which all human beings are endowed, okay? She is a disgusting human being. And that doesn't mean what I did wasn't wrong. It does mean I will never apologize to her. But I would love to have her on stream sometime, because she is a nervous, anxious, neurotic liar, and it would be really, really easy to reduce her to a sobbing mess publicly. Would this make me look better in the public eye? No, it would make me look worse. But it would be very satisfying.
Poppy has posted as recently as a year ago a summary of most of what happened and the fallout she experienced afterwards. And then this is like a summary of basically everything that happened. Basically, she was having a lot of trouble in her life, was relatively asexual. Ian would continue to make like pretty aggressive sexual comments towards her, even after she pretty explicitly said that she didn't want it anymore. And then once they had a falling out, he basically harassed the fuck out of her in my Discord, and then kind of sicked his fans on her to harass her as well. But once banished from my community, Ian began to grow in his own right as a YouTuber. He also rebranded from Irish Laddie to Vosh in order to escape the stigma of his prior misconduct allegations and continue to produce video and debate content across YouTube and Twitch. We would go on to have a friendly rivalry for the next few years through conversation and debate, with me privating the allegation video so as not to destroy his fledgling career, though it wouldn't be without a couple notable road bumps. One of the worst of these was during the Rittenhouse debate saga, where he stood idly by as his girlfriend, roommate, and community tried to get me banned with a 16-second misinterpretation of what I'd stated during a debate about rioting and defense of property.
I don't know why I can't move. When I scroll down, it's not letting me do anything. Right, there's one debater here, but I do want to watch this. I don't want to. I do. Yeah.
I saw this video of Ben Shapiro.
Him reacting to Fresh and Fit or whatever, I think.
Oh, you know, people like Ben, they out of touch because they had an arranged marriage. And I was like, so confused. I didn't know this was true, so I went to look up how Ben met his wife. And you know how he met her? By the way, I want to say this. I was very proud of how you handled the Milo debate. I thought you did a great job. Did you wish you were more rough with him? More combative? But people mentioning people's kids is so bizarre to me.
Yeah, I think it's...
Hello.
Yeah, that debate was disgusting. Be right back. Disgusting in the sense of it's fucking inhumane. Like, have a conversation, have a discussion, have a debate. Like, that's cool. Do that. But all he did, Milo and Destiny in retaliation, totally righteously, just like calling him a fucking cuck and shit. He is, but I mean, what's that got to do with the debate? But I think cuck insinuates like there's some level of, you know, humiliation in it. Like, you don't enjoy it. Which Destiny is like open. It's like an open relationship as far as I know. So I don't really know. That doesn't seem to hold any weight against him. Like, he doesn't really give a fuck. Like, people call him that all the time. He just like brushes it off because. I think that's his deal. Like, that's what he's into. Be right back. Right, let's see what's
Steven always ignores your existence. I've joined just to spite the DGG chat, YouTube chat. This is your chance. You guys can ask questions, and I'll respond. This is an Ask Me Anything for YouTube chatters exclusively. How am I doing today? I'm doing fantastic. Frogs or dinosaurs? I believe frogs are dinosaurs. Trick question. You couldn't get me, bruh. What's my favorite movie's Whiplash. I don't like music, but I do like that drummer. And I think it's Gene.
I don't like
something
music, did he
Simmons.
just
That
say?
actor's very good. I liked it when he called him
I don't like
I
the
can't say
music,
word
okay.
on YouTube without him getting banned. But that was awesome. Let's see here. Would I introduce Destiny to my parents? I mean, Destiny's over for dinner. You know what I mean? And he wants to, meet my mom. She won't talk to him for very long. So I don't know. Like, I guess I wouldn't mind.
Yeah, we wouldn't be talking for very long because we'd be real quick, and we don't need many words for that.
Yo,
Abba.
Destiny, you're moving mad.
What?
You're moving crazy right now.
What's up? How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good. Yeah, I heard you're going to Texas or something.
Yeah, tonight, hopefully.
What you gonna be doing out there? You're gonna have an actual good debate?
Maybe.
Or are you going there? Oh, is this secret content?
No, it's like a panel with a bunch of people. We'll see how it goes.
Okay. It's good that you're doing a lot of IRL stuff, taking advantage of it. You know who I just seen a video of recently? I saw this video of Ben Shapiro. Hold up, let me just turn on this game music. I saw this video of Ben Shapiro. I guess he was like reacting to some people's marriage advice.
Oh yeah, him reacting to Fresh and Fit or whatever, I think. Or do you not say their names? Yeah.
And I was watching it, and they were talking about him as well. And then at one point, I think one of them mentioned the fact that, people like Ben, they out of touch because they had an arranged marriage. And I was like, so confused. I didn't know this was true, so I went to look up how Ben met his wife.
Mm-hmm.
And you know how he met her? I guess he just saw her somewhere one time and then took an interest, and so he started hanging out with her every day for like 3 months, and then they just got engaged. Now, to everyone else, I think 3 months in sounds very, very fast, but I think from a lot of people from extremely like religious and conservative backgrounds, that timeline's not the craziest one in the world. But I don't know. You know what was kind of refreshing? And like, I think we've been talking a lot about people grifting and whatnot, but irrespective of how I feel about Ben personally, I thought it was kind of refreshing just seeing somebody online who kind of lives out the values that they profess in regards to faith. And I don't know, I think like one of the main things that turned me off of religion when I was a younger kid was mostly seeing how hypocritical a lot of people who loudly profess their faith. And so when I see people who like traditionally live those values, there's something about that I really like admire, even if I don't agree with them politically on a lot of topics. You didn't get that feeling watching at least Ben or you know who else gave me that feeling? Let me see.
Oh, I was gonna say for Ben, yeah. I talked about this a while ago, but he did a show with Lex Friedman. About talking about his relationship. One of the criticisms I have for people that talk about trad relationships all the time is they are so incredibly disgusting with how they talk about the women. And if you come from a traditional background or a conservative background, and you really do traditional relationships, you never talk about the women like that. They're not these inferior dipshit beings that like just sit in the household because all they can do is like make babies and clean, right? Like the woman has like a lot of responsibility in the household, and there's a partnership with the father, and like yeah, the father might have the final say on things, but he's not like walking around like a tyrant in the household. Like he's doing everything with the consultation of his wife. Of course, it's a partnership. And Ben actually goes through a lot in his Lex Friedman conversation talking about the relationship with his wife, and he sounds like he has a phenomenal relationship with his wife. He talks about how she helps him like reflect on ideas and shit, and they share a lot of like household stuff and everything, and like yeah, he's like one of the only, well, I say one of the only conservatives. I don't know how many conservatives talk about their relationships, but his relationship sounds like a very good model for like anybody trying to do like a traditional relationship where the woman is like respected, and it doesn't just sound like somebody that fucking hates women, you know.
In the darkness.
I love the way he talks about his wife. The references to like because he did this before on a show where he speaks like what you're looking for in a marriage, or he did this in that thing where like my wife is concerned about like Twitter usage. She says I shouldn't do it anymore. I like it seems like his wife is an active role in his relationship. As opposed to like, oh, she's just stays at home and takes care of the kids while I do my shit.
If you look at when I
think it would be hard to be in those kinds of relationships and in that kind of faith and talk like that, because, or at least talk crazy, because not just from like a religious standpoint, because most of the religious texts that I've seen in regards to spousal relationships talk about being extremely respectful of your wife, but also if you're very serious about religion and you're married to someone,
been a while, guys, so
families are very much involved. How would it
cut me some slack, alright?
If the man who you're marrying your daughter on is just out here talking about women in the most disgusting manner,
yeah,
and you're like a real man of faith, like there's no way you would ever want your daughter to be in that kind of
environment. Oh, for fuck's sake, I totally forgot.
And whores and stuff like that. Like if you're a real man of God, you wouldn't want that, you know?
Yeah, I started thinking about this a lot more. I think on and at least I can force them to look stupid, because I asked Sneeko this question once. One question I really want to push a lot of these red pillars on is like, okay, let's pretend, now first, this is a big ask, okay, but pretend you have a woman that's a friend, okay? If a woman came up to you and she was like, hey, I met this guy, he seems like pretty cool, but he says that if we date, he's gonna around with a lot of girls, like should I date? Like what would you ever tell a woman as a result? Like nobody in the history of the planet is like, yeah, you go girl, like it's okay if he's like sharing you with other women, or if you're sharing him with other women, like it'll be a great relationship. He's a high value man. Nobody would ever say that ever in the history of all of mankind. And the fact that these guys all act like it's just like totally normal and like every woman would go for it. It's like, well, think about if you're, or like I asked Sneeko this, like, would you be okay with your daughter dating Andrew Tate? And he was like, yeah, I think I would. It's like bullshit, dude. No shot. But yeah.
I mean, he's saying that somebody who doesn't have kids or doesn't have.
Yeah, I know. But like, even so, like, would you really want your daughter or a family member to date like a fucking boy? Is that real? Like, no shot. Your sister? Anybody? Like,
I'll say I'm a little bit forgiving in that stance, because I think until my niece was around all the time, I didn't realize how much you can care for a little one. You know what I'm saying? Like, I really shared that. I don't give a kids, whatever. And then she started coming around. I'm like, damn, I've never been more protective of another individual in my life. So I think I can understand why they can say that, because they're purely speaking from like
the male perspective and what they want,
without knowing like the emotional and like just intrinsic attachment you build to somebody like that once you see them growing up. That's the only way you could do it. I have not known anybody who's actually had kids who would ever repeat what they've said.
Yeah.
No one. He was like
oh, my daughter came home today, and like today she's hanging out with us because her husband is with another woman, but we're so proud of her for landing a high value guy. Like, like that's such a wild statement. But these people all act like it's super normal. Rolos Tomasi, Just Pearly things. The French are like, oh yeah, like women love to share high value men. It's like, what the? Who do you talk to? Has there even been a woman on your show that says that?
Yeah.
Like, even when I go on and I ask the women there, like, would you share a guy? I'm pretty sure like almost every single woman says no. Like, who the fuck? And that's even those are the fresh and fit girls. This is like your most extreme population. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, I will say in their defense, I think a lot of this stuff is more cultural than people realize. It's never spoken about openly, nor is it proudly proclaimed. So the way that they're doing it, because you have to imagine, like, even for my mom, like, anything that these guys say,
all I'm doing now is out of fucking memory. Like, I cannot remember.
Like growing up in her time and stuff like that, culturally speaking, like a lot of this stuff is very complex. People in poorhouses, you know, doing things behind the person's back, and it's like it was very normalized. It doesn't mean it was accepted, but it was just a thing where people understood this thing happens pretty common. What you couldn't do, and what is extremely bad, is out there talking about it loudly and then embarrassing the family, or embarrassing your partner's family or the community at large, because then it just looks terrible, because everyone has to keep up appearances. Even from a religious standpoint, like plenty of people.
This fucking dungeon, holy shit.
Stuff, and plenty of people in the community know this. What's really a problem?
Literally
is when
never
you
get
speak
anything
about
in
it
this
openly,
fucking dungeon.
There's a certain amount of embarrassment and shame you're supposed to have when it comes to that behavior.
Yeah, that's I would believe that more, sure.
I mean, I can tell you this. Oh, here's an example. In a lot of religious communities, the pastor's out here fucking everybody left, right, and center, even though they're not supposed to, even though they're married. And a lot of people know this. A lot of people know what these people are doing behind closed doors. They just don't talk about it publicly. But the moment it comes to light and it's out in the public, then they have to save face and get away from the person or whatever it is. But these things are very commonplace. It's not like abnormal behavior.
Yeah,
I'm not using my words correctly. I'm not saying that it's not abnormal. What I'm trying to say is it happens fairly commonly, and it's just I'm having a hard time finding the words.
No, I understand what you're saying. It reminds me of, I don't know how true this is. I've heard this from two different people, so who the fuck knows. But like I've heard that like if you go to like Gulf states, you go to like Saudi Arabia, UAE, that like a lot of the people there have very strict rules around things like gambling, things like drinking, fornicating, stuff like that. But a lot of these guys travel and do like crazy parties where they're obviously, it's like the most
dog shit
in the world, and they're breaking all sorts of shit. And it's just like everybody kind of knows that if you're from Saudi Arabia, I don't know how true that is,
absolute
but I've heard
dog
that
shit.
a lot of people
Fucking hate this dungeon.
Absolutely. I have friends who were posted to Kuwait, and they were saying the exact same thing. Like the filthiness that happens commonly, society, everyone knows about it. It's only a shameful thing once it's public because everyone's embarrassed now. So like the wife might know, the husband could know, and nobody has. Well, I'm not saying they don't have an issue with it, but they all accept it. But it becomes public. All of a sudden, they go on this big apology tour, and they're saying how bad it is and how they're going to change or whatever. But these motherfuckers knew the whole time it was bad. They knew the whole time. They just didn't care because it was happening like in the hush hush.
Sure.
Yeah. And I think that's like the mistake of these guys is that when they're doing this, it's like, look at these countries, they do it. It's like, yes, they do it to some degree, but they don't do it with the same brazen attitude and level of disrespect that you have for them.
Not only that, I'm willing to bet that this is probably going to be more common with like women that are already kind of like baby stock. Like, I doubt even in those countries is there going to be like a woman dating a guy and she's as like, even as a dark secret thing, he's like fucking around a ton and she's okay with that. I bet this is probably more common where it's like the woman's married, she's got like the kids and everything to take care of, and like, yeah, the guy might step in and fuck around and it's like, fuck him if he does it, you know, but like it is what it is. But it's probably more common when they're kind of stuck in that situation. That'd be my guess.
I think the kids are definitely affected. I think just marriage in general, people get stuck.
Sure. Yeah, no, that's true too. Yeah, because I don't even want to divorce at all.
Yeah. Like once that happens and the joining happens, like, you know, that's why physical abuse.
Region sale rate, what is that? Daily. Region average daily sold.
It's very hard to get away from it, and there's a
700 in the whole region.
As a woman, in terms of stuff you don't necessarily find acceptable, but you have to because like. You just can't get divorced. It's like it's one of the biggest sins from a religious standpoint. It's embarrassing for the family. It's embarrassing
I ain't keeping
for the
nothing. I already have like 10 of those.
The decision to get married is.
These are nice, but
you know it's funny because over
they're
here
not really
majy. No advantages for men, but then you go to the other countries and like, there's so many fucking disadvantages for women. When it comes to marriage, it's actually I feel like it's. I feel like the disadvantages that women experience in those countries is far larger than the advantages or the disadvantages that men experience over here when it comes to the potential of divorce.
Sure.
Because think about it, you're locked into something where the dude can switch up his behavior at any point, and you're expected to stay.
Yeah, pretty dumb.
I want that.
How's life been? What have you been up to?
I came back from London.
Oh, London. Wait. Let me grab a drink real quick, and then tell me about it, okay? Answer my air down one second.
Actually, I should grab some water too. Stay hydrated.
Oh shit, London! I bet Abba was looking for another job at Pearly Things. Now that she fired half her staff.
I actually did an appearance. That episode should come out soon.
I'm doing shoulders. Yeah, but they're cloth, man. Fuck it. No. Usually I'll just like save items that are like 1,000 gold and above. Like I have so much shit.
And
region stale average.
You'd fit right in too, right? Because you said your background was Ethiopian. Isn't that who she likes, or what does she hire out from? Wait, did he step away for a minute?
Well, I'll only do one more.
Oh, okay.
What is
Let
this?
that one hang hard.
Go away.
Jesus.
Tell junk.
By the way, I want to say this. I was very proud of how you handled the Milo debate. I thought you did a great job.
Thanks. I tried to walk the line hard there. Okay, not be too unhinged, but like hit him back a little bit. Yeah.
Right back. Yeah, that was great. You did great. Like I think optically, everyone pretty much unanimously agreed that you came out on top of that, both rhetorically and I just think the way it looked overall.
Yeah, I hope so. As much of a kind of a waste of everything as it was, I hope that like people, if there were people that were still
Yeah, it was
holding on to
fucking
him,
childish on
like,
Milo's
Milo's a
side.
decent guy or whatever. Like I hope that his
Fucking
fans saw
child.
that like he's unhinged. Yeah.
Yeah, he is unhinged.
I think that's the takeaway most. Even I was kind of surprised by his showing. I don't know. I think my last time seeing him in a debate was years ago, and he still seemed like he had it. So I was like, okay. And then I saw this, and I couldn't believe the
Yeah, he's
first
a
5
fucking
minutes. I said,
joke.
what am I listening to? And I actually didn't realize you guys were in Tennessee, so I had to Google what shooting he was talking about. And I was like, what does this have to do with Destiny? I was so confused.
Yeah. It was. As soon as he started with that, I was like, oh, this is gonna be fucking dumb. And then he got personal too, and I'm like, oh, okay, well.
Is there something you wish you would have
debate.
done differently, or do you feel like
I feel like it went about. I feel like it went perfectly. Like in terms of everything I could have said or done, like yeah. Like in retrospect, well, not in retrospect. Like if I would have known he would have acted like that, I wouldn't have done that conversation at all. I just would have had the debate because it just makes it sure. And I don't want to like give him free clout because he's like so desperate too, right? He has nothing in his life now, so I'm kind of like his lifeline to the universe. But
well, I mean, I don't think he took charge of himself any favors. I don't imagine this garnered him any support. If anything, I think he lost more than anything.
Yeah, I hope so. Yeah.
Yeah,
There's
he
no
deserved
angles. I don't think I've
more.
seen anybody say he did a good
Absolute
job.
piece of shit, bro. Like the guy's an
I couldn't
absolute
imagine-
fucking vermin.
Sometimes people come into a conversation and join a bit of an audience, either from like a religious standpoint or rhetorical standpoint. Like everybody, I think that I saw commenting on this sent me like clips. Pretty much said unanimously. And then I guess people can use on drugs or whatnot. Did you wish you were more rough with him? You were more combative?
I felt like I got my hits in where they were good, and I was chilling it. It was okay. And then it just kind of like let him self-destruct. So.
Yeah, good man.
I think the time to be calm actually is the best for you. Because even though you might want to go crazy and just weekend people, oftentimes then they get to paint you as a crazy liberal, just emotional or whatever. Well, in this case, it was.
Yeah, I think so.
Do you care about that kind of stuff optically, or do you just want to?
Yeah, I have to care about it. Yeah, it's just things that I have to consider, especially as like the trends for what strength looks like has changed too. So like in 2016, 2017, like strength was like screaming at people and like being crazy and like calling them out and shutting them down. Like that's what looked cool. And now it's more kind of like the just sit there and be like stoic and don't respond emotionally at all is like the cool thing. So yeah, it's just stuff I have to consider optically when I'm engaging with people.
Sounds like you don't like it though. It sounds maybe I'm misreading.
No, it's definitely more fun to just scream at people.
Yeah.
It's more fun to just go wild and hard, yeah. But I mean,
I don't know when this became normal. I don't know if it's because it's you, but people mentioning people's kids is so bizarre to me.
Yeah, I think it's.
I don't know when that became normal. I'm really like people are like, oh, he did that, and I'm like, everyone just I don't know.
Yeah, I think for me, it's just people just look for easy shots. Well, it's kind of flattering to me because it feels like I guess you don't have anything else to say. Like it feels like you're kind of ceding a lot of the argument if you're just talking about my family and my wife. But yeah, it's kind of wild.
I mean, also just bringing up your kid, like your wife, because I know you're very open about your relationship. People bringing up your kid is so weird. But hey, I know you can handle it better than most people. I just feel as though I'm not used to it. I think it's getting more of a recent development over the internet because I don't feel as though this was common behavior. Am I wrong about that?
I have no idea. Yeah, I don't know. I've always thought it's kind of weird. I think it actually is kind of common. I used to chide my fan base for doing this. You see other people that make like weird comments about like Ben Shapiro's sister?
Oh, but isn't she a public personality or something?
A little bit. But it's a lot
She has
of
a YouTube channel, doesn't she?
yeah, but it's a lot of comments about boobs. It's really weird. But
Wait,
I
what's
mean,
wrong with her boobs?
they're fucking massive. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just people are. Yeah, jeez, chill. But Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I guess she is no public. I don't know. I'm not too sure what it is. My life is also
Well, I don't
really
think that's because it's her sister. I think if you're a movie with massive boobs online, people are gonna talk about them. Oh wait, what are they just talking to Ben? And Ben's like, listen, we got a big problem. And someone's like, yeah, your sister's tits.
Oh, I don't know about
happening?
those types because he only engages with a professional. So.
Wait,
I mean,
what?
he also talks to students, but like, I don't know. To me, that's not the same thing as like someone talking to you and then saying something about your child is so bizarre to me. But if your kid had a YouTube channel, somebody's like, "Hey, Nathan, your haircut's kind of sucks." I don't know.
Bro, she's like
I
12.
don't think that's the worst thing.
Sure.
Oh,
yeah, I
never
agree.
mind.
It's pretty
What's
bizarre.
actually, I Googled this.
Bruh.
Wait, what are you googling her?
Oh wow, they really do look alike.
Sheesh.
They're related, yeah.
Yikes, bro.
Okay.
I mean, that's bad news if you have a sister who looks like that, bro.
I don't know. I don't think I'm gonna get old in my life. Like, I think I'm always gonna go.
Like, good luck not getting any shit in school for that. Holy fuck, bro. Growing up must have been miserable for him.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, listen, they're gifts from God. That's
Yep, they are.
I'm grateful that the internet didn't blow this one out of proportion. Sometimes you'd be like, oh my god, this girl stuff like that. Those are alright. Sorry.
This fucking dungeon.
I think that's pretty much all. I don't need that much.
I swear to God, I'm never coming here again. I fucking hate this
Enjoy
place.
yourself. I know you're leaving today, so have a safe trip, brother.
Right, seeing as it's the last time, I'll show you what I'm gonna do now. We'll do a bit of strats right now.
There are a lot of these like trad conservative people who hate like these right-leaning like manosphere people, and it's funny to kind of like watch them fight a little bit.
Kid that's not there. Well, unknowing or knowing? I'm not knowing. So how do they get the statistic? I don't know. It's DNA test.
Much like the
Oh, she
feminist
did pull it from that. Oh my God! She really thinks 1 out of 5 men? How could you be that retarded? She thinks 1 in 5 men are raising a child that's not theirs and they don't even know it?
Especially considering she's on her dad's dime.
Number one, I'm sorry I'm not a brokey. My dad yells at me for accounting every month, and I have to like organize like business expenses versus personal.
Pearl reminds me of Pearl from SpongeBob, asking her dad, Mr. Krabs, for money.
I'll do the full 12.
This dress looks like a trash bag.
Me some nice high value guy.
He looks at her with a straight face, telling her she's going to meet a high-value guy in the...
For the makers.
To be racist.
Get him onto
Staff
20%.
actually wanted him to be racist.
Wait, he was talking to an Italian girl next to you and saying that she shouldn't have a black boyfriend.
He doesn't believe in. See, I don't really want
Let's
to
leave that there for a second.
Too much.
No, but you just said he wasn't being racist, and I watched him be racist on your show.
Well, I mean, to me, he says the same things that like there's a lot of people that think like that. When
But doesn't make it less racist just because other people think it.
He was really polite. He showed up on time. Like we just. Yeah.
He also.
And honestly, he did a panel, and he spoke about.
Yeah, I've already seen
When
that.
I saw the BLM riots happening, I remember lots of conservative media saying whole cities were burning down. So
You're not
we talk
conservative
about
media. There's no conservative media.
Would you say that OAN is not conservative media? One American News Network?
I think it's just it's a slowed down progressive bias. Yeah, it's not conservative to answer your question.
What do you mean far right?
Is there any right-wing person here who's a fan of the Daily Wire?
No.
Okay, that's what I mean when I say you guys are all far right, okay? You guys are very, very far right.
Yeah, but that doesn't tell us anything.
No, it means when you say there's no conservative representation in the United States, what you're really saying there's no far right conservative representation in the United States, which is saying there's no left-leaning representation in the United States, because there's no socialists or communists in mainstream media either.
Okay.
Just jump into it. The topic is simply inspired by.
I think it's under 50% HP. I can't remember. I'm pretty sure it was.
The enemy of the people. Destiny, you have about a minute for your opening statement. Go ahead.
I think that largely the media is a reflection of what people want to see. I don't think the media is the enemy of the people. I think that right now we just live in a very media-rich environment where there's tons of stuff to see. We've got internet, we've got TV, we've got all sorts of people telling us things that we do want to hear, that we don't want to hear. And I think that as a society, I think that we need to demand like better from our media, like more than kind of the partisan hackery that exists today. And I think that right now, even in the alternative media spheres that pop up, it seems like what people want is more just like kind of like an appeal to their political ideas rather than any sort of actual honest reporting.
Okay, thanks so much. Drone Tech, go ahead. You have about a minute.
Okay, first of all, I thought the media was sort of becoming enemy of the people back, long before Trump, back when they were demonizing the Tea Party with lies and edited video and things like that. It may not be the media itself as enemy of the people, but they do harm to the American people, and there are people within the media that see half this country as the enemy, and that, I think, paints a lot of their coverage. And essentially, our media has abandoned their mandate as fourth estate, which is to hold power to account. And instead of that, now they have an agenda, and their agenda in their minds is so important that they can basically rationalize saying or doing anything in pursuit of that goal and stopping what they see as the enemy. So yeah, I do think that people within the media see other Americans as the enemy. And I think that if we don't stop it, or if the media doesn't change, we're heading for an authoritarian state if we're not already there.
All right, thank you so much. Let's go to the top right. Andrew, you have about a minute. Go ahead.
Yeah, so actually, I think that Synth condenses this down really well on this particular topic, and I'm in full agreement with it, which is the media has always been the enemy of the people in this way. What they do is they hide aspects. They only present one aspect historically of either a conflict or a narrative, something like this, and because they only present a single aspect, they're trying to hide shit from you, and people who are trying to hide things from you probably aren't your friend. So this is a historic trend with the media throughout basically human history. So I would say I'm in complete agreement with that.
All right, thanks so much. Lonerbox, you have about a minute. Go ahead.
I don't really think the media is a friend of the people. If it's an enemy of the people, I don't really know how it's any more of an enemy of the people than alternative media, who can just spew whatever they want with no pushback, and just hop on to the next mad theory whenever they please. Yeah, I guess like people on the right will say that it's an enemy of the people because of COVID and Hunter Biden or whatever. People on the left will say that it's because they over Bernie Sanders or because they called Jeremy Corbyn anti-Semitic. I think a more systemic thing you can look at with media is maybe just the deregulation and how it's been very easy to make massive conglomerates and mergers so that you have a lot of concentration of power. I don't think it's just capitalists giving people what they want to see necessarily. I think like Rupert Murdoch admits that he loses money on some of his outlets because he wants to push his right-wing message. So yeah, I think mergers might be a big thing to talk about, but yeah, who knows?
Okay. Next, let's go over to my right, Zen Shapiro.
Yeah, so the enemy of the people, I think we need to identify precisely what that is, and I would argue that it's nihilism, and I wouldn't also reduce the media to just the news media. I would include, music, movies,
Zen Shapiro.
Sports, video games, all that stuff I consider to be media. It all pushes this nihilistic and frankly hedonistic message to the masses to where they lose purpose, they lose telos in their life, and their rejection of an ultimate purpose, an ultimate truth, leads all of their beliefs to just be arbitrary, relative, opinionated, so they're not actually able to make arguments, they're not able to make any positive claims about anything, because I guess it always just falls back to it's my opinion versus your opinion, and we're either going to agree to disagree or whatever, or I guess just might makes right. So it's very problematic. It's always, I think I agree with Andrew that it's always been, the media has always been an enemy of the people. But I think it's important to identify precisely what that enemy is and where it's going to lead us to. And right now, most of society is very materialistic, attached to.
They're not more of an enemy than any other business.
They don't really look towards
it's just another business.
Further purpose, any metaphysical purpose. That's why we don't see people having children. We see the birth rates collapsing, and these problems are going to rear their heads a lot more in the future. I think we're just at the tipping point now. But I think the media and its effect on the masses really drives this. So that's it.
All right. Thanks so much. Dylan Burns, go ahead. You're next.
I think like the question itself, like, is the media becoming the enemy of the people? Like,
kind of like implies a change. Like there was something that we used to have like a pure media, and now like the media is evil. Where I think a lot of this is going to come towards like, well, the media has cherry picked its information or it has lied to you. But that type of stuff has been going on forever. I mean, the advent of yellow media was during the build-up to war with Cuba, when we basically fabricated a lot of atrocities that were going on in Cuba. Some are real, but a lot of them were fabricated and stories in order to encourage the U.S. public to invade. And throughout U.S. history and German history and history of countries all around the world, stuff like that has happened, either because of the personal interests of the media outlet or the interests of the state trying to manipulate the media to be in their interests. But that doesn't mean the media as a whole is the enemy of the people. I think this means that people need to practice good media literacy and need to make sure that their outlets that they are looking at isn't cherry picking, and it is the job of good media outlets and good people to try to give a fuller picture of events, and also the job of historians to make sure that they're bringing up the broad picture. I guess the war in Ukraine is a great example of that, where I think historians and good media outlets need to be doing a lot of work. And I think we see a lot of the problems of today's media is because we don't have a decent amount of media literacy, and we see a lot of cherry picking in media. That's a basic statement.
Okay, thanks so much. The last person will be Casimir. After he's done, I'm going to say a couple words and then we'll jump right in to open debate. So Casimir, go ahead.
I sort of agree that the media was always an enemy of the people, but the style and the distinction between yellow media and some appeal to authority, some presentation of authority was much different in the past. And you can just observe that by trying to watch a newscast from 80, 70 years ago, and you will find that it's quite different in tone when it approaches politics. But politics in general, how can you define politics in the shortest way? For our friends, everything. For our enemies, the law. And that's the general theme of the media in the United States, is that it allows the friends, which are the state corporate institution, to get away with everything. But then for everybody else, there's only the legal recourse. And that's the main theme of the media today. So I think that's what we should focus on.
Gentlemen, the floor is yours. Take it wherever you like.
Yeah, so kind of over to the left, would you agree or disagree that the media presents narratives and hides facts from the general public often? And do you think that that's something that your friends would do, or people who are looking out for your best interest?
All right, here we
I
go.
think the media, of course, is presenting a narrative. Everybody is presenting a narrative. Like, nobody's just reporting on some facts. Like, you need a way to weave all the facts together. We're not going to get a random accounting of random information at a given point in time. You're going to get like a story relating to an event. Now, whether or not, I think the better question is, do they present it in a politically partisan way? And that seems to be pretty true, although I think the problem is a little overstated. I mean, I don't think narratives are bad. You're always necessarily going to need like a story when you're telling a story. It's not like today.
Yeah, but you know that there's a difference between people who are constructing narratives on purpose versus people who are trying to have an unbiased or objective viewpoint. You can still say that the unbiased or objective viewpoint is narrative building, maybe it is to a degree, but I think that there's a distinction to be made, and that you can almost intuit people who are trying to be unbiased versus people who are totally biased.
Getting the fuck out of here.
And I think that's the better question, is do we think that the media is trying to intentionally I don't really think that's generally the case. I think people definitely have their biases, and they definitely go off in a certain direction, but are the media trying to intentionally tell lies? I don't think in general that's true. I don't think there's ever been much evidence.
I think Fox News does.
Well, I think we make a delineation there then, because I think that part of the narrative building of hiding key facts is their lies of omission. If by giving you that fact that you know, it would change the narrative necessarily, then I think that they're lying.
Sure, but I think that we take that process for granted, that like a fact you know would necessarily change a thing. Right? I think that that's kind of like up to some extent, that could be up to viewer interpretation. I don't want to argue over the merits of this now, but like, for instance, like in that Andrew Tate case, a lot of people are saying that there is CCTV footage that's exculpatory evidence for the Tates and that it should be included. And so everybody's like, oh, well, if you exclude that, you're being biased. You're intentionally telling a different narrative. But some people have watched the footage and they're like, oh, actually, I don't really think that's important evidence at all. So somebody might look at that and instead of thinking you don't think it's important, they think, oh no, you're trying to hide it. So like, I'm not going to sit here and say the media is perfect. And I know
what that means is every
certain types of facts
100 days to a soul.
Like, are they doing this because they genuinely believe they're trying to tell a true story, or are they like intentionally omitting something or including something to sell a lie? Which I don't think that's the latter.
Well, I mean, but wouldn't Destiny, wouldn't you have to do that if the main driving force behind your clicks, views, things like this is sensationalism, which I don't think any of you guys on the left are going to argue that sensationalism or high-octane media sells better than kind of the boring droll. If you're going to sell a narrative that's high-octane, you almost have to of ease back on some of the facts, don't you?
Well, you have
I
to
mean,
lie at
kinda
all.
have to do that.
Reality is really entertaining right now. There's a lot of crazy shit going on. I don't think you have to tell a lie, right? Like,
I'm not saying they're lying. I'm saying they might omit key facts that, by just the omission of them, would change the narrative, even from something that might be like a more high-octane, more engaging, style of story.
I don't want to monopolize the conversation. I'm sorry.
No.
I mean, the concept that you're talking about is
we can do with an example. They omitted an entire political candidate that was on stage with a Republican and Democrat. There was a candidate from the Libertarian Party, and the omission of the Libertarian candidate didn't have any particular goal of increasing the ratings. It was just based on the fact that they don't want to present an alternative to the politicization that they want.
Right, I'm gonna log in to
system.
my other characters so TSM can track it and tell me where I have what.
Low. And if we were to have everybody on the debate stage who ran for president, I mean, it would be a gigantic debate stage, right? They're only going to put the people up there.
It makes perfect sense to, like in Stalin's photo, just crop him out, even though he's standing there right outside of the crop on stage and he's speaking and he has several punchy quotes. We can ignore all of those.
We didn't kill him. He's still alive. I mean, like, Stalin killed him. We didn't kill him. He's still alive. He never had a chance of winning, so they didn't invite him.
Yeah, we're a bit more refined now. Instead of killing people, we're just disappearing them live on air.
Do you think if I announced I was running for president tomorrow under the Labor Dylan ticket that they would have to put me on the debate stage with the president of the United States?
I think that if you went through all of the ridiculous caps they put on and the difficulties they put in even being on that stage, that yes, they should show you, because that candidate registered, he had hundreds of probably tens of thousands at least of people sign
you buy them out. I nearly
got on
forgot that.
stage there, and even to get on stage he had to get a certain amount of funding for his campaign. So all of these prohibitions on the emergence of alternative political movements in the United States, those are they're creating this scarcity that you're then appealing to remove them from the stage again.
Yeah, like, I mean, why even participate, right?
Well,
like, why even participate
I don't
if you
think
go through it all?
But that's not the problem of the media. That's the problem of the system and checks and balances, the system that we put in place that is built for a two-party system. The system is built upon it. The laws that we've introduced is built upon it. So if they're not going to include him because he doesn't have a shot.
He doesn't have a shot because you have
of the
all
law.
of these because you have created all of these laws that make it very difficult.
Yeah,
and
but
then
that's the
even though
government, that's not
we
the
have
media.
a widescreen monitor with 9 faces, with 8 faces on screen, right? 7 people debating. We can do this. Somehow we have the technology, but the mainstream media can't give people a sound bite.
Do you think that people are really that interested in hearing somebody who's never going to be president in the first place on stage, taking up time from the 2 people who actually have a shot at becoming president and having control of a nuclear arsenal?
Well, that's what the media said about Donald Trump, that he didn't have a shot at being president.
They didn't take
And
away
then
any
he won
media
the
time from him,
nomination,
though.
and then he earned time on the debate stage by becoming the nominee and then running and then winning.
Yeah, I feel like we actually saw this addressed really soundly with Bernie Sanders. People said that the media was avoiding Bernie Sanders because they didn't want to give him a shot, because if everybody heard what he was saying, they would like him. And Bernie didn't get very much media coverage, and they were like, oh, well, see, this is intentional. They're never going to cover him. But then there was a small period of time where I think it was after Iowa, New Hampshire, Bernie started to get popular in the polls, and all of a sudden, was it after Nevada? Yeah. All of a sudden in the polls, he started to increase, and all of a sudden he started to get a lot of media time. And there was a lot of mainstream attention given to Bernie Sanders, but it just coincided with his polls. And I think you can say the same thing with a lot of the Republican candidates as well.
You can't this kind of double cope though, because with people saying that with Sanders, it's also like people, if you're from a fringe group, or you'll probably say that they're not reporting on us enough, but then if they get some success like Sanders or Corbyn, then the media talks about them all the time. But because they're a fringe candidate, then the media talks about them negatively. Well, then it becomes, now they're talking about us too much in a negative light, right? So that's always going to go that way.
There's this false idea that the Libertarian candidate has to win to be of value on stage. What he has to do is to talk to the voters, to appeal to them, and to say, this is something rational that you should demand from your politician.
Well,
and then that demand gets reflected in the policy of the party, and the party has to be worried now whether those activated individuals who now see themselves in the trap, see themselves their position properly presented, that they will potentially vote against the other candidate or don't show up to the vote. And that's what they have to prevent. They have to prevent the right questions being asked.
The thing
so
is,
the narrative stays where they want it, between the two puppets.
If this was a university debate, then I think this would have an argument. But it's a presidential debate for who can be president. And so if you can't become president, then I don't think you should be on the presidential debate stage. I think that's a pretty
It was just a
simple barrier.
Local state. It was a state debate between state candidates.
Oh, well then I don't even, I don't give a fuck. I thought we were talking about the national level.
Of course you don't care. Of course. You only care if it's presidential. To get to the presidential level, you have to win.
I thought we were talking about the presidential debate. I don't know about whatever.
Cut you off. So it's a nice little circle.
Look, if he met the requirements that the local level set, and then they just said you're not included, obviously that's bad. I thought you were talking about the presidential level because I thought you were referencing something that we all knew about. I don't know about whatever state you're talking about. No clue.
You don't even know about that event. I understand.
Well, you haven't even given the event. We all assume we were talking about the president.
Why does he keep on putting it out there like it's something bad?
Like, why should I know about this random libertarian?
Because wasn't there like a popular?
I don't live in?
I thought there was a big presidential debate that was going to come up, and the libertarian candidate I thought didn't get on stage, and people were really upset about this. I thought this happened on one of the presidential stages. If you're just talking about a random state race, I don't think anybody.
I mean, that can happen as well.
What was it?
The
2016
requirements are
Gary.
ridiculous.
What was his name? Gary Johnson or whatever.
Yeah, I
He
feel like
hit
that
3
happened.
or 4% or something in the polling. He had to hit like 5% to get on or something.
Well, I mean, but to bring this back to the actual media itself and whether or not it's an enemy of the people, I must like whether or not we're going to argue about state politics or the national election. I would like to look at the historic lens here and kind of state emphatically that historically the media has presented these narratives that are always biased for one reason or another. They're never telling the entirety of the truth. Sometimes it's because there's regulations from the government or demands from the governments of their different nations that say don't, due to national security purposes or whatever purpose they have, but we're not getting the full story. And so now the trust in media is basically gone. And again, I'd like to ask, like, if these people are hiding things from you often, and I mean often, why is it that we would think that they're our friends? Why is it that we think that they're there to help us?
Let's deal with like examples.
Can I give an example?
Yeah, let's give some examples.
So, and this is where it comes into like a Democrat Party or Uniparty, however you want to say it, and government sort of collusion. Like the media is out there saying, just basically repeating Democrat talking points as fact, where they're saying like Ron DeSantis is banning books in Florida, when that's not the truth. That's spin. Like there's no books being banned in Florida yet, and they know that, but they say it anyway. That would be one example.
I haven't heard. The thing that I heard about the school bill was that there was the possibility that books that include like gay authors could theoretically come under additional scrutiny because a parent could bring charges to like a school for trying to gay their kid up, basically.
Yeah, but do you ever think you're actually getting the fullness of the truth from any media source, or are they typically
you
going
guys,
to be spinning it in their favor?
Okay, we have a fundamental misunderstanding of what it means to like do history or do media. You're not getting the full truth from anybody. You're always getting a selection of facts, right? The question is do we think
let me tell you why it's intentional.
Yeah, okay, that's what I want to know. Do we feel like somebody's intentionally omitting somebody, right?
I think so, because if you look at this long list of mistakes the media has made over the course of like 20 years, every single time it's like they get it wrong, cutting against the Republicans, and that's because they're already in this footing all the time, looking for some way to get the Republicans, and so they don't check their facts and they fall for these stories really easily, and like that's why it happens. Like you cannot find a story where the media got it wrong and it like hurt the Democrats. That doesn't happen.
Well, I mean, the media like talked about like Obama's birth certificate. Like a lot of right-wing outlets, far-right outlets, talked about that endlessly, even though there was nothing to it.
Well,
there, of course, was Hillary Clinton when she was like the idea that she killed American soldiers in Libya or killed American personnel in Libya. That was ran with endlessly, even though after investigations and committees they found nothing for it. There was like endless stories. We could talk about like a million different conspiracies about Hunter Biden and Joe Biden that have been brought forward that ended up not really having much to it. The accusations didn't have having much to it.
Yeah,
even though
but the
like,
question.
like,
Let's
I guess
fucking go.
My thing is like just don't
25,
like a one-way sword. Like,
831. How much was it? It's nothing.
Drone Tech might be playing the partisan politics
Ooh,
game. I'll tell you
Primal
the rest of us
Fire.
are not. And the question is,
Well, I
Heavy
know
high.
Republicans are involved in this too.
Heavy
so
leather.
it's
If you're
probably
going to
part of it.
concede that, if you're going to concede that the media is almost never telling you the full truth, and they're always spinning the
Lightness
narrative
till
to
primal
either
shadow.
sensationalize or to benefit their
Heavy
preconceived
leather.
biases. Is
Well, no
that-
one. I don't think anybody
would you-
conceded that,
The
did they?
question is, would you consider that a friend of the people?
Wait, I don't think anybody conceded that, did we?
Who conceded that?
Well, okay, so
Well,
you say
you just did, Destiny, that you're never getting the fullness of the truth. You're always
Right,
going to be
it's
spinning
selection
the
of
truth.
facts.
Wait,
Let me-
no,
hold
no,
on,
no,
wait,
no.
let me just
Historians
wait.
never give the
Can I
fullness of the
just
truth.
explain this?
Nobody
Hold
gives the fullness of
on. Yeah,
the
we have to.
Okay,
leave
so you're
Destiny
conceding
go.
the point then. You're conceding the point.
Okay, one at a time. Let's leave Destiny go. Then we'll
Yeah,
get a
we're not
You guys
talking.
both just conceded the point. I don't know what to tell you.
No,
Well, how do you get
your
around
point
that,
is
though?
that no. Your point is that people are making a malicious omission of facts. My point is
can't
just
tell
that
us
like
what
you
our
can't
point
tell
is. What do you mean? You can't tell.
Like this is the problem with debates, all right? This is the problem with debates. The problem is, guys, for me at least, and why I kind of like the idea of debates, like personally being involved in a debate, but on the other hand, it's like I have zero interest because I'm a guy of goals, results, accomplishments, success, like the end, okay? That's where I want to get at. That's what I'm interested in. The conversation that's happening now, it's not fun for me. I don't enjoy it. It's not something that I care too much about, especially when it comes to things that. But then again, it's like, yeah, it's obvious to me, but a lot of shit was obvious to me like 10 years ago, but it's not that obvious to me today. I was like, I thought a bunch of shit was going on 10 years ago, but in fact, it actually wasn't. So, therefore, debates are good because you're hearing different sides of the story, and there is never ever going to be just one fact, one truth, one whatever conversation to be had. And that's the idea of debates and why we have debates. So therefore, that's my reasoning for wanting to have debates, like reaching the end goal, finding the answer, the conclusion, the solution, getting to a better place in terms of humanity as a whole. The other side, and the side that I really think that is, if I ever do get into debates, I am going to give it a go the best I can, but it's kind of like there are people who go into debates with the simple goal of winning the debate. You see, to me, the debate could be characterized as a battle, okay? But what I care about is winning the war. I have zero interest in the battle. And as soon as somebody pulls like these kinds of tricks, debates, tactics, or whatever the fuck they do, and they're just like, yeah, you see? Yeah, you see? It's like when they do that shit and they're just trying to make you look like an idiot, or okay, make you look like an idiot. Like if you're saying stupid shit and they make you look like an idiot, that's fair enough. But if they're trying to make you look like an idiot just to win the debate, because debates are not always about my theory overrules yours. Is if I can make you look like an idiot, if I can make you look stupid, well, now you've lost the debate, because everybody who's watching this, they all can like clearly see that you're an idiot. So what you're saying can't be really that relevant. So do you get the point of where I am like contemplating the thought of that is where I'm probably going, that is probably going to be the biggest obstacle I am ever going to face when it comes to debates, if I ever get into them, whatever. Like that whole idea, that whole concept. To me, a debate is more like, let's reach a goal. Like I'm coming here willing to have my mind changed. That's my goal here. I want you to change my mind. But I require you to come with an adequate conversation, proof, evidence, some logic and reason behind it, not just opinions, feelings, and theories and like bullshit stuff. But yeah, I'm totally willing to have my mind changed. I've had my mind changed about, well, one, we had the discussion today was about Russia. A year ago, I was hell-bent on the idea that, you know what, I'm totally for Russia doing this. because I have zero interest in NATO, and NATO's just putting its nose in other people's business, and like it's always done, it's trying to overrule the earth, which there is some logic to that. They are incentivized to do that, because if they do manage to take over, the more countries they have in their union, the more power they hold, the more leverage they can use over their opponents. So that there is some logic to that, but it's not that simple. There was a lot more to it. And at the time, I was just like, completely like, this is just America doing what America does, which is just like, fuck up other people's shit, puts its nose in other people's business. And although there is, again, I still believe to some extent that it has happened, I don't think that is as important as the other things to be talked about in that regard, which a year ago, that was the only thing I was talking about. Right now, I'm more focused on whoever wins. It's not that important to me. What is important is the fact that Russia has been challenged in this, and it hasn't had a easy time going towards this, trying to do the things that it's doing. It's being challenged consecutively all the time from other countries, sanctions, this and that. How much effect they've had, whatever, that can be discussed, but there is some challenge to it, and therefore there is not one power rule in the world. Because if there was, well, Russia would have basically just taken over it and be done with it. Like, nobody would have said anything, nobody would have done anything. It could literally just fucking nuke it. Like, that's what one power looks like. It's destructive. It's too much power in too little hands. And yeah, so that's my focus to this. I was wrong about that, and that's just one example. 6-7 years ago, I was into conspiracy theories, like some really dark conspiracy theories, and I was totally convinced that most of the shit that I knew, things like fucking McDonald's is feeding babies, cut up babies, and child sacrifices, and like a bunch of fucking shit. The Jews rule the world, and like the fucking Black Pope, and like, okay, like even to you, like the Black Pope might be this, like, wait, what the fuck is he talking about? Yes, that's how deep I went. Like, apparently that's like the head of the snake. But anyway, that's not the point. Like, I believed all of that shit. I went totally head into it, and I went too far down the rabbit hole, and I was proven wrong on those things. There's a lot of fucking other logic and reason behind those things, and there is no actual proof of those things happening. It's just like coincidences and like connecting one thing with another. Like, there's one actual true story, and then there's another 10 stories attached to it, which are like, if that's happening, then probably these things are happening, which is, you could basically characterize it as a reach. Like, you're reaching. And at the time, they seemed pretty convincing, not gonna lie, but the more I looked into it, the more it was like, meh. So my point is that I am fascinated with having conversations, but I ain't got time for this fucking childish games of I'm trying to prove that I know more than you and people should listen to me. Talking about that, we've completely obliterated that support. If we do not bounce somewhere here, I don't know if am I sharing my screen? Yeah, I should be. If we don't bounce somewhere here, like fast, like even down here, like here's where the support was. And we've completely come down to it. You guys know my opinion on damn. Like, unless we bounce somewhere here and then we use it as resistance, is probably the best case scenario. Like, I'm more leaning towards there's not going to be a bounce here. Like, if there is a bounce, it's going to be not up to here. It doesn't look good. It doesn't look good for that sense, but it's totally good for me. Like, I'm making money now. Like, I'm short, like, quite a lot, actually. Well, not a lot, but yeah, I am. I have a position from up here. I showed it before. Yeah, this is dropping like mad, and I don't see it slowing down anytime soon. But I think this is just going to. Okay, I'm not gonna. I don't really do time. Time is not something that I do or I believe can be done. So yeah, just leave it as it is. Let's see. Is there anything interesting? The winds of change could be blowing crypto's way. Okay, here we go. People, Vitalik Buterin's breakup caused market dip. Crypto founder Justin Sun comes out with crazy proposal. Coinbase to potentially launch an offshore derivatives platform. Coinbase can go fuck itself before I call. Rumor has it that the crypto market and ETH price are down because Vitalik Buterin ended things with his girlfriend. For the sake of the crypto industry, I volunteer to introduce him to a new partner. Let's get things back on track. All right, so this is a fucking meme. This is a joke. This is, who the fuck cares? What about this? What's this? It's been nearly 1 year since the implosion of Terra Luna and its stablecoin lost over $45 billion in value just a few days. The ripple effects of this event, protocols, actively lending with Terra, all of these companies suffer all the bankruptcy due to massive events, shady business, bank free, these collective events, shadow over the rapidly growing crypto industry and plunged it into the ice age. Case into point is rep, blah, blah, blah. There have been 55 enforcement actions against digital assets. Gary Gensler took over as chair of the SEC. There have been 55 crypto farms. The Securities and Exchange Commission has been aggressive in their attacks on the industry. Shut the fuck up. No, they have not. Stating that they are willing to help crypto farms, yet when these farms reach out for assistance, the SEC issues a lawsuit. Yes, but they could be doing so much fucking more. Do not try and put this forward like they're hard and cruel. They're not. They're so fucking soft in this industry, man. Like, that's not even talking, like, that's not even in my best interest for me to say that, but that is the damn truth, and you all know it. Like, give me a fucking break. My ass, they're tough. They're not tough. They don't do shit. Here's an interesting conspiracy theory for you. Like, the whole idea behind digital currencies and why this thing baffles me all the time, which is like, digital currencies are the future. And the reason they are the future is because they are beneficial to government and businesses. The reason they are beneficial to government is because, well, most blockchains, or, well, they're basically databases, are transparent, which means that things like the IMF will be able to track every single one of our transactions, and they can monitor them every single day, all day, who you're with, where are you going, who do you like, who do you not like, what do you like, what are you buying, what are you selling, everything. And once they know that shit, which they already do to some extent, but not as much if there was a mandatory policy for everybody to be using a digital currency. Okay, let's just say that tomorrow the world decided everybody's going to use Visa and MasterCard. Like, basically everybody's going to transact or on their phones, whatever. That would have the same result. So we're going digital. Let's just say that. Digital currencies, on the other hand, makes that process a lot more organized. And yeah, well, basically that's another net positive for governments. So the idea is that if that theory is right, which is right, it's totally legit. Like, business, government, like, what's more efficient, cost effective, easier to manage, all of those things, then it is a net positive for the government to be using it, or for businesses to be using it. So the idea is they are going to be using the digital currency, whatever the fuck that is. Whether it's the same system we use today, Visa, MasterCard, just advanced, or a blockchain, a cryptocurrency. So they're going to be using it. At least logic would suggest so. why the hell would they go ahead and regulate it before they're the ones using it? Because if they haven't used it yet, then they don't know what to regulate around it. Because the whole idea is they want to regulate it to their advantage. You would think that, right? Pretty logical. They're probably not going to make regulations like push it to the fucking ground, step on its fucking neck and don't let it do anything. Because what happens when they come into the picture? Are they just going to say, oh yeah, we're in the picture now, it's totally legit? Well, then all of these problems are going to come back again and there's going to be a huge backlash. So the idea is that they're not going to fucking regulate this space. They haven't regulated it. They haven't touched it, even though there are a million different reasons why. The whole world is literally angry with cryptocurrencies. Like, everybody despises it. You mention fucking cryptocurrencies, people are out of the fucking door. Like, trust me, I know this shit. Like, this space is like rat poison. Remind you of anything? So it's like, yeah, but the government doesn't do anything about it. Why wouldn't the government do anything about it? It's totally in their power to do it. Not Bitcoin. Bitcoin can't be regulated. Maybe that's why then. Maybe they can't regulate it because, well, they can't regulate Bitcoin and that would make them look weak. They can regulate it to an extent of banning it in specific countries, which has already been tested and tried, but there are backdoors and loopholes that still allow people to access it. But otherwise, what they're going to fucking do? Go around and seize every single mining node that's connected to the Bitcoin network? Like, good fucking luck. That ain't gonna happen. So it's just like, yeah. So what is the leading reason why this space has not been regulated? Because it does need to be regulated. At least if it's a part of this society. Everything is fucking regulated in this world. Are we seriously going to sit here and say that, oh yeah, but guess what? Money is not going to be regulated. My ass, it's not. Of course it's going to be regulated. It obviously isn't in their best interest to do that. Or maybe they don't care enough about it. Like, I don't understand it, man. Doesn't make sense. There are a lot of questions to be asked there. A lot of questions. Like, I'm pretty sure there's like some kind of event going on. Like, it seems like there's some kind of event going on. Like Shanghai, whatever the fuck this is. Like I've told you this before. Like, when it comes to fundamentals, like, I'm out the door. I couldn't care less. There are no fucking fundamentals when it comes to cryptocurrency. Zero. Like, did I base my fucking analysis on fundamentals and I fucking make trades like these? Fuck no. There's nothing fundamental about cryptocurrencies. There are no fucking customers. There are no, like, records to analyze. There are no profit and losses. There are no expenses. There are expenses, but the idea is their whole fucking capital comes from investors and selling a dream, and basically investors buy into it, and then they use that money to pay staff and all of that stuff, which gets them to a certain point, but then they run out of money and now they need to do another round, investment round, and now they're just giving out more coins, which basically disrupts the network. Like, there's just so much fucking shit. It's just broken ass dreams. That's all cryptocurrencies are. But again, I trade it on a daily fucking basis. No problemo. I ain't got no problem trading this shit. Zero. None. Okay, so yeah, the point of this was to get on every single character and see what I have. But I'm not gonna sit and start selling shit, am I? Like, leave this fucking crap. But yeah, shit gets organized at this level. Ooh. Ooh. Yeah. Dog shit. Dog shit. Dog shit. Dog shit. Okay, that's alright. Meh. Anything here of significant value? None of this is worth anything, bro. Right, these two are. Whatever. Like, the price needs to be above the fucking... And they can't have a 0.007 sale rate. Like, nobody's buying that shit, bro. Just fucking vendor it. What the hell do I even have this shit in my bag for? I'm a little hoarder. Just hoard everything. A lot of this stuff is kind of decent, but... I'm just looking at the ones that have a higher buyout than the region sale average. There could be an opportunity there. But then again, I need to check their fucking sale rate, because I'm gonna have to post this shit like 20 times before I can sell one. Then it's like, I'm gonna have to think about my life decisions. I guess so. I won't ever sell anything below the region average. At least. Like, some of these prices are inflated, some of them are. Oh my braces, like nobody's buying that shit.
Don't be a stranger.
Yes, stranger. But is it seriously gonna drop? Like, to be fair, like, I wouldn't be surprised if we just dropped now and just went all the way down to here. Like, I would not be surprised at all. Like that, literally. Be fucking funny as fuck. Imagine if it happens. Yo, that would be jokes, man. I mean, it's going. Like, I'm going to get out when price goes down to there. But what next? I don't think it's gonna go down now, but yeah. I said it would be fast. This is all on record. Like I make sure that I record this shit. I'm gonna put my position on there just for the. I don't think it's gonna go right now, but I'm gonna do it. Yeah, I exit my position at that point. All right, be right back. Right.
tell us what our point is?
No, that's what you're. Wait, are you just saying that people aren't saying every single fact about a story? Because that would be a really stupid point. If that's what you're saying.
That media outlets often use lies of omission in order to construct narratives, and that's not something a friend of yours.
Just outright lies. No. Look. Can I say one other thing? Outright lies. Like on MSNBC, they regularly call They call Republicans terrorists. They say the Republican Party is a terrorist organization.
Okay, the question is.
But that's a lie.
Well, terrorist is a perspective, okay? So I don't know if that's a lie, okay? But the question is the media intentionally omitting stuff to try to tell a story that's not true? That's the question.
Or exaggerating the truth.
Sure, or exaggerating. Yeah. That's the question that we're really concerned with.
That they generally are, right?
No, I didn't agree to that. That's what I said. It'd be good to have examples.
So you think that the media tells the full truth, unbiased, doesn't sensationalize?
Do you think is that the dichotomy you're working with? Do you understand?
I'm just asking.
What language is he speaking?
I feel like following the point that I'm making.
May I jump in? I think Destiny's arguing that might happen, but that's inevitable with humans.
No, not with humans. You just can't tell every single
these guys brain dead?
Like if I tell you about World War II, I'm not going to tell you every single person that died, every single decision that was made, every single thing about. I have to pick and choose.
Yeah, but that's not a lie of omission.
Okay,
right?
Yeah,
this is a
particular political
slide. Oh my God! Hold on. Holy shit! Is this the 45 IQ panel? What I'm saying is that you are necessarily.
World War II. This is a great example.
No, what I'm saying.
Oh my God!
Let Destiny fucking finish. Jesus
I don't
Christ!
even know what
let him finish.
Argument is.
I haven't even get to hear what he said. Let him finish.
Okay.
He's gonna finish his
Good
point,
man.
and
Good
we're
All
man.
I'm saying is that when you engage in any sort of process where you're telling a story, you are necessarily omitting and including certain facts. That's a process. It's part of telling a story. That's why anytime somebody goes to make a documentary, nobody ever says, we're going to make a documentary about this and include everything. That's not true. You look for a story to tell because you can't account.
But the media tells a story that benefits, like it's a partisan story that benefits their party.
Yeah, I agree.
Intent.
That's why I was asking you, is there an
so
example?
I'm telling you,
no,
yes,
I'm asking,
Operation Mockingbird is an example.
A fucking point. I'm asking you, can you give me an example of?
I just did.
Okay, all right.
You want me to give it to you again?
I don't even know. What do you think my point is? I don't think you even know what the fuck I'm talking about.
Yeah, you're saying specifically that anytime any type of story comes out.
Hey, Andrew, you can't tell him his point. You can't tell him his point.
Anytime the media, he just asked me to tell him his point. Am I wrong?
He did.
Or did he just ask me to do that?
Go ahead, Andrew.
Right, so just sit there. So where I was at was, Destiny, you're saying that anytime a media narrative comes out, necessarily
why do I even have the?
Because you can't give every single detail or every single fact that has ever existed in regards to whatever the story may be. Fine, fair enough. What we're talking about is omissions that are intentional or lies of omission. And a lie of omission is the intent to leave something out that the narrative would be changed if that was included.
I agree.
January 6th is filled with that.
And that's why I wanted to move on to, can we get to those types of stories and just saying things where the media is omitting something, where they intentionally, where we feel like they've intentionally, I think the conversation we just had about libertarian candidates was a really good example of, why aren't you including that guy? This is malicious, where it might not be malicious. It might just be they decided that they didn't want to include that person. There is no malintent there. That's all I'm saying. Go.
Well, look, the January 6th protests, there were 120,000 people there. Out of that, like 300 are charged with violent crimes, and another around 900 are trespassing. And yet the total media focus was on those violent people, not the mostly peaceful 120K. That was intentional. The gallows that they constantly bring up, they brought gallows to hang Mike Pence.
Sure,
okay.
I agree with that.
But
Real
I'm
quick,
saying
would you say the same thing about BLM riots, that they were mostly peaceful?
I mean,
and therein lies the problem. There you go. Yep, there you
Here's
go.
the thing, but the media, I really wonder that's a standard that the media.
He choked so hard.
Whether or not your spin on the story is actually justified to be the narrative that we all go with.
Okay, well, let me ask you. Wait. Let me ask you guys a question.
The standards aren't applied equally though, because there was an attack on the White House. Okay. Sorry.
What do you think was more noteworthy? The fact that there were people in the Capitol who went there, then went home and did nothing, or people who charged into the Capitol, broke into the building after going through multiple police lines, and then delayed the certification of the vote? What's more? What is more noteworthy? Do you think for the media?
Is there a chance that for TOS purposes we could steer clear of this particular topic? Is that
well, I'm just saying they didn't go out of the way to call that mostly peaceful.
There is something in common between the BLM protests that were mostly peaceful and the protests in the Capitol. What was in common was that in both cases, the state, the people who are supposed to maintain law and order stayed on the margins stayed in their helicopters, stayed in their drones.
Yeah,
and
we can't
observed
we can't dive into that on YouTube.
Yeah, that's
No, wait, you don't
We
believe
can't.
this
listen,
though, because when people spoke.
listen.
No, wait, you don't. Sorry, Rob.
Well, real quick, like last word on
So
this.
let's go back to
particular
historical
thing, as
facts.
vague as possible, Loner Bucks, but YouTube is not big fans of talking about things that could be construed as any sort of downplaying any sort of aggression that occurred in the heinous attack in our capital. So if we could have the last word.
Okay,
on
I
this.
have an example. I have an example for.
Well, that's not
recent
authoritarian
history.
at all.
There was
Not even a
an
little.
interview given by the Israeli Prime Minister, and the entire most of the media channels that even covered that interview said that that he talked about how his negotiations between Russia and Ukraine failed. That was their headline. And that headline buried the story where he said it didn't really fail. It was that the United States and the Axis, the French and German powers, decided to withdraw from those negotiations, to end them. It was them ending the negotiations, not Ukraine or Russia at that
Isn't
point.
that the definition of negotiations failing then? If parties have
Yes,
withdrawn
it is
from that?
technically true. It omits the reason why it happened, and the reason is the news. So
Okay,
Well, yeah, but hold on. Wait. This is so essential. This is so important. Did it include in the story what happened, or are you evaluating the entire story based on the headline?
So it was the headline that the entire story is about things unrelated to the actual failure. And towards the bottom of the Associated Press story, they say that. And then, unfortunately, his negotiations failed. And nowhere in the story does it actually say his quote of why it failed. And I had to go to some news channel in India to hear the rest of the story. And then I had to watch the actual source in translation to understand what really happened there. And there were direct quotes that were sensational quotes, were important for the Americans to hear. Like, I don't know, maybe they were right to, at that moment, not negotiate for peace, but that was a story that was not spread to the American people. Why not?
I feel like you could make such an easy critique here, though. You could say that, like, deregulation of media, kind of like since the 70s and 80s, did make it the case that also just like media information around the world speeds up so quickly. There's so much more information that media outlets feel like they need to be on top of the story all the time, and that means that fact-checking rates go really low. I think there was a review of British press that showed like 7% of stories are fact-checked across quality press. So yeah, you can make that critique if you want, but I don't know why you think it's like a malicious agenda. I mean, the thing you were talking about BLM riots as well, I feel like you all don't believe what you were saying about that, because at the time of BLM protests, I remember
What did
seeing
we
like
all
riot
say about
footage
it?
and fires all
Wait, hang on, no. What did we all say about it?
You were something about like mostly
Who's
peaceful.
we all?
but-
Hang on, who's we all? 'Cause
That's
I
what
didn't
the
see
media
some
said.
comments on
Okay,
it.
look, if I misspoke there, you completely got me. Okay, I'll just say that when the BLM
You
riots
mean
were
if you
happening,
strawmanned like half the
when
panel?
I
Yeah, and-
saw
and
the
lied through
when I
your
saw the
teeth.
when I saw the BLM riots happening, I remember lots of conservative media saying whole cities were burning down. So
They're not
when we talk
conservative
about-
media. There's no conservative media.
Holy
in
shit,
the
let him
mainstream
There's
of
no
the United
conservative
States.
media. Okay, media that's not left wing. I guess media that wasn't
I'd like to hear. Let's leave Loner finish his point. You all have a
media
chance to
that
respond.
media that wasn't, I don't know, like left wing. I don't know what makes you happy. Like people were talking about whole cities burning down because the media had more of an interest in focusing on videos of buildings burning down than they did of like a peaceful protest that starts at like 12 at noon and then ends at 3 p.m.
Go ahead, Zen. Respond.
I was just agreeing with Kaz that there is no conservative media and that it all generally, to varying degrees, has a bias that is going to end up being progressive.
Would you say that OAN is not conservative media? One American News Network?
I think it's just it's a slowed down progressive bias. Yeah.
Can I jump in and steer this back?
It's not conservative to answer your question.
You were talking
What are
about
they conserving?
Yeah, what's the conservation?
Wait, OAN wants to
Are they conserving natural law?
OAN wants to conserve
Or
What
do they
do you
just
mean
want
OAN wants to OAN wants to
or do they just want a different tyrant? Like, what's the difference between DeSantis and Biden? There's no difference from a perspective. Like, there's some cultural difference. One defends one cultural value, the other defends other cultural values. But in terms of their means of operation, their means of operation is centralized government control. That's why he tries to abolish taxes, and the conservative media says, "Oh, look at what he's doing. It's welfare for the corporations." No, it's not. It's literally the opposite.
OAN said that? I didn't know that OAN said that. You said OAN wasn't conservative media. OAN wants to conserve marriage as it was before when it comes to gay marriage. Many of their commentators, many of their talking heads on there want to roll back that. They wanted to roll back Roe versus Wade. They wanted to conserve many of the things, the Christian values of the United States that they love. That is conservatism as far as I'm aware.
Sure. You know what? Maybe I'll give you OAN, that tiny, almost alternative media faction.
You mean
that
tiny? The president of the United States goes on there frequently.
During Trump's rule, it had to like fight to even get into the pool, and the pool kept kicking them out. Yes, that maybe they're the lone exception, the Steam Valve. Go ahead.
And there are lots of efforts
I'm also,
to try and get them.
I can't interview the president of the United States. Okay, so I feel like they're kind of influential. They have millions of viewers. I feel like they impact people. You said there was no conservative media. There is conservative media in the United States.
Right, it was a hyperbole. We should have said most media is not actually conservative. It doesn't represent conservative values. It's like conservatism light.
Yeah,
I just wonder what you're like contributing to the discussion when you say that, though, because if I said there's no left-wing media because they all support capitalism, it's just like, okay, well done, you know.
Well, right, that's also the problem.
Hang on, guys, hang on. I wouldn't even grant the OAN thing because, much like all the other outlets, they're just playing these like partisan politics games where it's Republican versus Democrat in almost every story, or the left versus the right, where they're trying to fabricate new enemies for you to hate because, like most people on Earth, you guys don't have anything that you actually stand for, so you can't make positive positions, so you need to just blow at the wind to whatever the media.
So Zen Shapiro, if I can find you a story, if I can find you a story of like OAN talking about the great benefits of the Christian church, or why like gay marriage is terrible and gay marriage wasn't a good idea, would you accept that?
I'll grant that there are some things that some outlets or some people can get right, but that doesn't mean that the outlet as a whole is conservative or traditional or is actually.
Okay, is there anything like what's the progressive stuff that OAN's putting out? Because if they just put a conservative stuff,
I just told you that it's always like I just.
Well, by your definition of conservative, which is just anything that you want to conserve, period, I guess is conservative, which is insane to me. Then anything that they do that is progress oriented, I guess, would be progressive. That's just insane. You're
Andrew, let me ask you a question. Do you think it's conservative?
They want to conserve this thing that we just found out about 10 years ago.
Okay,
whatever.
Andrew, so are you saying that it isn't conservative to say, I don't think gay marriage is actual marriage, we should conserve God's institution of marriage? Is that a conservative value?
Depends on the motivation. Depends on the motivation. That's why dialectics are important.
So would you guys say that if you don't...
So the motivations are progressive? What are their motivations?
I just told you, Billy, you can get some things right. But the reason I'm saying this is like I don't really follow OAN, but I just went on their website and just skimmed through it real quick, and like all of their stories are just about Biden and left.
It just feels like no true Scotsman.
That's what I'm saying.
No true conservative.
That's why I'm saying their general narrative is not a conservative message. It's just peddling the same narratives that all the other outlets are, which is fundamentally liberal.
So if you don't see pretty much most of the media I would consider right wing as like sufficiently conservative, is that maybe because your ideas are like maybe quite far to the right of
no,
like,
the issue is that there's like literally no center-right Republicans anywhere on the internet. So these guys are all like extreme right, and they're saying they feel underrepresented by the media, which is true. But I think you brought it up earlier, or Dylan said earlier, that like if we had a bunch of socialists here on the panel, does that mean we'd say there's literally no left-wing?
I'm asking.
Hang on. What do you mean?
Impossible to let Destiny finish your point. Impossible. Impossible for Andrew to let Destiny finish your point. Impossible.
What do you mean far right?
Is anybody okay? Wait. Here's my question. Okay, if you consider yourself right on the panel right now, if you're a right-leaning person, can you raise your hand?
What do you mean by right-leaning? Exactly.
Oh my God, are you actually fucking serious?
I'm right wing.
Okay. I'm pretty sure. Okay, wait. Oh, wait. Okay. Hands up if you're right wing. I'm just curious. Let's just check out. Hands up if you're like right wing. Okay. Then you're fucking right wing. Yeah. Okay. Now here's. Okay. Keep your hands.
What is extreme right wing?
I can't finish.
Just wait. We'll get to that. Leave Jesus Christ. Real quick.
Put your hands up your right wing.
The dog whistle for Nazis.
It's not I'm not dog whistling anything. Holy shit, you're so triggered.
Some people would say, dude. Some people would say that.
Kill me. I'm sorry. I forgot. I don't even know what to say. I was gonna ask. Is there any right wing person here? Is there any right wing person here who's a fan of the Daily Wire?
No.
Okay, that's what I mean when I say you guys are all far right. Okay, you guys are very, very far right.
Yeah, but
that's
that
what I
doesn't
mean.
tell us anything.
No, it means when you say there's no conservative representation in the United States, what you're really saying is no far right conservative representation
How
in the
the
United States.
fuck
You're saying
are
there's
they
no left-leaning representation in the United States because there's no socialist or communist in mainstream media either. That's the same thing.
That's what I wanted to ask.
Hang on.
Time out. Andrew,
You
go
called
ahead.
me partisan.
Everybody help you. Leave Andrew go.
So let me ask you this, because we're the ones who sound triggered. I just got to ask you, can all the left-wingers raise their hand? Okay, great. All the left-wingers have now raised their hand. Can you tell me, do all of you guys accept the narrative of MSNBC?
Nope.
Broadly. I think I'll
No,
broadly.
so are you far left?
I'll broadly
Are you
line
far
up. I
left,
said-
Lonerbox?
Okay.
Are
Yes,
you
I am
far
far
left?
Lonerbox is a
Yeah.
socialist, isn't he?
Well, what do you mean by
I don't
far
fucking
left,
know.
Andrew? You accuse me of
Right,
being
what
a
do you
tanky?
mean?
I don't
Exactly.
know.
Wait,
What
isn't
do you mean?
Lonerbox? Wait.
No, I'm joking. As in, I can own my
Lonerbox
position
is
without
a
being a fucking
socialist.
weasel.
He's
Lonerbox is a
He's fringe in
socialist. He'll
America.
admit that. Do you think Lonerbox would say he's a mainstream left-leaning person? Like you guys are saying you're mainstream right-leaning people?
We didn't say we were.
Then why did you
said
come out and
Daily
say you're
Wire
far
is
right?
also
If you're
socialist.
admitting you're not mainstream right-wing, then
Put
why?
your hands in your head. It doesn't make you smarter.
Holy shit. Okay.
It's just
May I-
courage. You
may
have
I
to
try
go,
to
you know?
interject and bring some-
Conviction.
May I try to
No, not
bring-
yet, Rob.
Please,
We have
please, real quick. May I try to bring? I think that maybe part of the confusion here is people are accepting Destiny saying far right as a pejorative, but I think he's just saying right wing as in doesn't find what we see that's called the right wing, like Fox News, to actually be right wing. Is that a fair?
Yeah, I guess
statement of
far
what
right
you're
is
saying?
like a
it's not
slur to these
fair, and
guys.
we-
I'm
and we can
sorry.
respond on our own. What I understand is he's looking at the political spectrum.
far right is
where
used as a
on the
slur.
far right there's fascism, on the far left there's communism, and he's somewhere in the center. You know, the neoliberal left, the one that wants a little bit more welfare.
Andrew
But
got
the way, for
offended by it, and
example,
his name is
from
literally
my
Big Papa
position-
Fash.
From my position, economically,
And it's a
everybody,
joke.
most
You know
people
why?
on the panel are on the spectrum
Can't
on the
you
left,
finish, Andrew?
including the Nazis who are also on the left. And so when Lonerbox tells me that he hates capitalism, I know that what he's saying is using the Marxist definition of capitalism, which is state corporate merger, which is fascism. And what he presents is a left-wing alternative to that left-wing ideology. All of them are left-wing.
we can go into why you think
culturally, we
Nazis
can
are
speak that's a
socialist,
separate
but okay.
conversation. But economically, the Daily Wire, economically, in the proposals they propose, they're still pro-government. They will still say, well, no, they still have these exceptions. They're pro-war, they're pro-neocon, right? They just support different state corporate industries. They support Raytheon instead of supporting, you know, Pfizer, for example. Although they supported Pfizer initially, so I don't know. I'm a bit confused about that one.
So
Just so we all know, like, the Nazis, like,
hang on.
Wait,
Loner,
wait,
I'll put it
he
next
said it
Loner.
towards
Let's leave
Loner.
Andrew.
You gotta let Loner respond.
just a really quick fact check, right? The Nazis murdered communists, socialists, and they also murdered people in the Nazi Party who wanted to put the socialist into National Socialist. Okay.
And communists
I
murdered
just wanted
Nazis.
to-
What's your
so
point?
Zen,
And
so-
communists killed communists, so what?
Yeah, they killed everybody, man. What are you talking about?
but it,
When
no, but I
people
think-
when people rise to power
It
on a
doesn't-
socialist platform, it collapses into tyranny as
Okay,
it
I
always
just-
does,
okay,
and then
yeah,
they start killing each other. Yes, that's true.
That's great. Okay.
And then a historian of your type, a member of the media, will show up and say, this is called privatization, because he will mistranslate some German historian. He won't delve into the details, and he won't present the alternative position. And when you go to, it doesn't matter which media. If you look at, somebody mentioned, Destiny mentioned World War II. Does anyone here ever hear about the Soviet offensive plan controversy that was raging between historians in the past 20 years, 30 years? No? Nobody does, because it's not
can you
important
elaborate
to
on that?
Soviet
mention.
offensive, yeah, like American offensive against.
No, like when the
offensive?
Soviet Union invaded Poland at the same time in '39 and
Molotov-Ribbentrop?
took half of the that pact. All of that
Oh
stuff.
yeah, I've never heard of
All
that.
of that
I
stuff.
never knew that the Soviets helped the Nazis break up
Of
a
course,
country.
you know
and
that,
then
but you
advocate
don't
prisoners
have
over
the
to
angle on it. You don't have. You have your own particular weak history spin on it, and you don't
What's my
understand what it
spin on it?
entails.
What's our
my
spin
spin
on
on
it?
it?
What's our spin on it? What's our spin on it?
Well,
Dude, he's
the
giving
spin
an
is to
example of a lie by
minimize.
omission.
The spin is to
Who lied about
minimize
it?
the fact that one of the allies in World War II was a person that was a group that was supplying Nazi Germany with resources throughout 2 years of the war, and then became an ally of the war.
Are you trying to accuse the United States of playing up Soviet fucking Russia? What the fuck is even happening right now?
Who's doing this?
Yes. Or there are many other examples of facts that are omitted through history. The facts like the fact that the United States, after the war, took a bunch of Nazis, shipped them off into Egypt, and sent them again to fight against the Jews. That's also omitted from history because it's an inconvenient history. So you won't hear it in general. It'll be new to you, and that's the type of lies by omission that occur.
Wait,
and
you just named two things.
Wait.
History that's presented in the media.
You just named two things that are omnipresent in mainstream history.
These are not that unknown. I mean, what the Nazis with the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact, they cut Poland in half and then the Soviets deported hundreds of thousands of Poles, did horrific actions. They treated the Polish horribly, worked with the Nazis to do it. That's pretty well-known history. I'm not a World War II historian, but I know that pretty well. Maybe it's because I work in the Ukrainian media space now that I know that. But I think a lot of people don't know World War II history because a lot of people just don't care about history. And so if you'd ask the average person that, it's just because they don't study history that much, but that's pretty well known.
Yeah.
America doesn't really play up the Soviet Union much, I don't think.
Yeah, that's all mainstream history that you just said, Cosmo.
If I can jump in, this would be a good spot to do it. I want to give just a brief reminder to people to go ahead and subscribe to the Crucible. There's members-only content coming out, so on the Crucible YouTube channel, you can become a member to get access to that content. Also, don't forget, we got a special 10,000K sub special coming up Tuesday. Now, I had a caller call in, and I think this is someone that people might know. They wanted to give a special message here, so before we get to the calls in the latter hour, let's take this call right now and see how this goes.
It's clear. As a democratic socialist, I may share axiomatic similarities with people on this panel, but I've clearly intellectually outpaced them. You have a moderator here that fell for General Alden's plan, so it's a shame that someone of the intellectual and deontological capacity such as myself couldn't be on this panel. But I want to remind everyone to get in their super chats and become members of the Crucible. I'm going to go hang out with my cat now and talk about transgenocide.
All right, so thanks. I don't remember that guy's name, but nice of him to call in and remind us about all of our shortcomings. So if I may, remember, get those super chats in and follow the link if you want to participate to get into the voice chat in the final hour. If I can maybe steer this in a slightly different direction, would the people on the right that seem to be making this claim that there is this omission that's malicious in a certain way, are there certain cultural issues that you see the majority of the media pushing in one direction that you would say would be an enemy of people that don't believe those cultural values?
Yeah, well, okay, so hang on, let me steer this back too, because I feel like it got evaded multiple times. But Destiny, do you believe, and Dylan Burns and Lonerbox, that the media just randomly omits facts? Like, they just randomly do that? They're just like, it's just a random sequence of events? Or do you think that there might be some intention behind that?
It is by definition not random. When we decide we want to tell
right.
story,
Oh,
yes, that is correct.
Okay,
You are
so
choosing.
by
There's
definition,
a normative process. We choose what we want to do.
So then if it's not random, and they're picking the facts that they want to omit, and if they omit some of these facts and it changes the narrative, you don't think for a second that that might be intentional? Or do you think that you could grant us a little bit of charity that there's some intentionality?
I don't have to be charitable. It is intentional.
But there's no
to reiterate
proof.
for like the 50 millionth time, my question was can you demonstrate where they are intentionally omitting facts to tell a lie?
I just did with your own logic. You just said to me verbatim,
Oh,
I
another
said
level.
That it was intentional.
Destiny is on
I
another
disagree
level,
with
bro.
that. Of course it's intentional. You're trying to tell a story. The question is, are they...
A buddy of yours would do, or
yes, that's what anybody would
Destiny,
do, of course.
The fact that these lies of omission always benefit one party and always go against the other.
They
you
don't always
see that?
benefit one party. Fox News is probably going to tend to benefit the Republicans a bit more. MSNBC,
Right, for
CNN
sure,
probably going to
for
choose
sure.
to benefit their people a little bit more. Yeah, of course.
I'm talking about when I say that, I'm talking about Democrat kind of leaning media, which is the majority of
I would
media.
imagine, I don't know if it's the majority of media, but I would imagine Democrat-leaning media is probably going to, like, the things that they feel are important are probably going to more closely align with Democrats. Yeah, of course.
Well,
Most
they're
people
driving. That's driving our cult. I mean, that's driving everything, is what they're saying. Fox is just right-wing conspiracy theories, and so anything they say, at least half the country is not gonna.
Fox says that CNN is left-wing conspiracy theories. I don't know what the point of that statement is.
Yeah, but Fox is just Fox is one channel that
Fox is the largest.
Fox is one channel
Fox
that
the
is not
largest
treated
cable
seriously
media
by
channel.
any of the others.
Fox is the largest cable media channel in the United States, and I'm pretty sure conservatives dominate the airways. If you ever turn on an AM radio before you're driving anywhere.
Right, and they're constantly trying to get it shut down. Like they were on The View yesterday saying people at Fox should be arrested and charged.
Yeah, I remember
Are
the
people on The
AM
View in charge of the DOJ arresting people on Fox News?
You remember in the AM days when they wanted the fairness doctrine? Do you remember that?
I think I was too
when
young
they were
for that
like,
one.
yes. There was,
yes.
You were alive for that. You're around the same age I am. You're in your late 30s, right?
I thought fairness. I'm in early 30s. I thought fairness doctrine was kind of gone in the 2000s, early. I don't know when fairness.
90s.
But back when
90?
AM, back when AM was king, they had that whole fairness doctrine thing. They were upset that the conservative media was too
Let's fucking
oversaturated
go.
with the narratives,
Sorry,
right?
fairness doctrine was
Too much
abolished in
omission.
87.
Give me
I think. Okay, so
some
this was
item.
Well, they were really trying to bring it back in the 90s. I thought it was. It
Totally
wasn't-
forgot how to
They
do
were
this.
trying to bring it back. I think they were trying to bring it back all through the time that Rush Limbaugh was in front of
Right.
the EIB mic, right?
Exactly. I mean,
All right,
what you see the
can you
media.
explain for our audience what that is? Because, like, just the term fairness
So
doctrine, what does
the
that
fairness
how-
doctrine
how-
basically just said that for all the time that conservative hosts had on the air, you had to have an equal amount of time. Air America was like one of the big beneficiaries of this. It was a left wing, kind of like
with Randy
Clear
Rhodes?
Channel.
With
Right, with
Randy
Randy Rhodes and all these people. It failed miserably because nobody wanted to listen to that. But yeah.
Well, I mean,
But-
if, go ahead, Andrew.
Well, I was just going to say, the point here is that obviously the left-wingers thought that there was a lot of omission that was going on, a lot of narrative building, and a lot of things that were not being representative of you know, their worldview, their history, things like this. They wanted the government to actually come in and create a fairness doctrine, creating equal time between both. And you know, the thing is that as we kind of go through this, Destiny, Lonerbox, Dylan Burns, I kind of know Destiny's position, but like Lonerbox, you would have to agree that the media does lie by omission, whether it's on AM waves, whether it's nationally, even locally, in order to narrative build, and that's not good for us, right?
I think like whether you're doing history or media, you're always omitting. So you're always, and people will always accuse you of lying by omission. So
Yeah, but I'm talking about the intentionality, though.
Well, then you'd have to maybe give examples. Like they probably do. There's probably an agenda with like almost every media outlet. I mean, some people will say it. Like Rupert Murdoch will say that he loses money on the Sun newspaper in the UK because he wants to push an agenda. He's probably going to lie by omission when he's doing that. If he wants to talk about like Muslims in the UK, he'll always say bad things. He'll never print good stories because that's like his agenda, right? But I would ask you then, what would your ideal like media outlet friend of the people do? Because like, if you're saying that it's not going to lie by omission, then it's just going to be like a random fact generator, right? Like it's just going to tell you like, oh, the temperature in Cairo is like 39. Like a kid got hit by a car.
No, that's
and
not
fucking
true. First of all, a lie of omission would be
Mozambique.
intentional. It would be intentional. So
Holy
understand
shit.
that a lie requires intent. Nobody on this side is disputing that you can get facts incorrect unintentionally. What we're
So-
saying is that there's a media narrative which exists that they misinform on purpose and historically have always done so.
Can we
in
get
order to
examples? Can we
present-
work? Can we work
Sir,
some
we
examples?
just gave you several examples.
I can give you some
Let's
more.
work.
I can give you some more.
Let's just work around. Wait. But let's just work around one example. We can all talk through that instead of just like vomiting out a ton of random things. Let's just work through one example.
Go ahead, Drone Tech. You got one example.
Well, okay, if we're gonna do another one here, so we constantly hear, we're constantly reminded about January 6th. We're constantly reminded about Charlottesville.
Wait, no,
One
example. One example.
Hold on.
Do you want to do January 6th?
But I'm just saying those are two examples
Don't do
of right
two.
wing.
That's more than one. That's twice as many as one. Let's just stick on one example.
We'll say
Please do not do J6
we'll
again,
see
please.
we'll say
Anything but
the
J6.
attack in Chicago. There was an attack on a Christopher Columbus statue where 49 police were injured. Super violent.
And this is
big mob
exactly why
carrying
nobody
Black
fucking
Lives
likes
Matter
Alderman.
flags, attacking police with sharp rods and
Dog
poking
shit
them and
dungeon.
stabbing them and throwing grenades at them or fireworks. That injured 49 police. That was reported local news, never to be spoken of again. The media just kind of lets that be forgotten, and then they keep reminding you of these other ones, so that you kind of get this.
Okay, what was the name of this event? Where was it? Where did this happen?
It was in Chicago. It was BLM Antifa attacked Christopher Columbus statue. 49 police injured. Just if you look up Chicago riot Christopher Columbus statue, you can probably find it, or I can link
We
it.
don't.
actually.
This is too. How about one that everybody knows?
And I
Well,
think even
that's my point, though. That's my point.
Hang on. No,
is that
this
like you
one-
don't
this
know
one
about
that
it?
everybody knows.
Or how about White House
No.
2020?
No. Let's just go with one that everybody knows.
Well, we can just
Kyle
look this up and find out. You said in Chicago.
No, but everybody knows the Kyle Rittenhouse story was.
That's another good one, yeah.
Heavily to make Kyle look like a murderer or whatever, and even Destiny, I think you have a soft spot.
Those were the
for that.
words of you, Destiny, right?
Words of me for what?
Okay, wait. I just looked this up.
The question
I
is
just
whether
looked
they're
this up.
lying. I think that people genuinely did believe that Rittenhouse was a murderer. But that's not a difference in accounting a fact or lying. That's somebody giving a perspective. This is exactly what I'm talking about.
The media and Democrats straight up called him a
After
murderer.
the case was legislated,
Before the
after the case was litigated, I don't know. When they carried out the court case and they found him to be not guilty on pretty much on all counts, I'm pretty sure. And then these left-wing media outlets still peddled the narrative that a murderer got away with murder.
Yeah, but that, do you understand? That's an opinion. They're not
all
actually.
the facts were out, right?
Yeah, but no, these. Self-defense is an affirmative defense. It's a matter of an opinion by a jury that you've done something wrong, but there was a good reason for why you've done it, right? So there could be a difference of perspective on that. Do you think that they're intentionally lying, or do you think that there are people? Here's a question. Right? This is a good faith engagement. Do you think that it's possible that you?
Yo,
can
you
give
guys
an
saw
account
that,
of all the
right?
facts to a person,
There was
make it up
definitely a
everything,
blue
and they can still
item
come
there.
away thinking that he
I
was a murderer?
swear
Or do
to
you think
God,
that's
there was a
impossible?
blue item there.
Do you think you could
That's
give
some
somebody all
bullshit,
the
bro.
facts of that case and then they still come away thinking he's a murderer?
Yeah.
I think yes. If you have,
It's possible, but at least they have all the facts.
If you have emotional baggage tied to the narrative, that
Okay, you can't.
you're not
You're
willing to part
fundamentally
with,
incapable of engaging as a
if you
human
have,
being.
If you have
Okay.
preconceived biases, which you're not willing to part
He's
with,
engaging right now. Hang on. What is he not engaging? What is he not engaging with?
In his idea, there's only one
you
interpretation of
talking
reality. You guys don't understand that there's perspectives you get on issues. That's why you can't engage
But
with
the
this question.
interpretation that is pushed out is always.
Let me answer because I just told you that if somebody from their perspective has preconceived notions about the narrative that went down, and then they're presented with all the facts, but they're not willing to part with their preconceived notion, yes, they could still conclude that Kyle Rittenhouse was a murderer.
Okay, would you say that if Rittenhouse,
that's still malicious.
if Rittenhouse was convicted by a jury, and Republicans said, well, no, I still think it was self-defense, would you say they have emotional baggage?
Well, I'm talking about in this particular
No,
case.
hold on. Engage with what I'm saying to turn the brain on. Let's say that he was convicted by the jury as being a murderer, which is totally possible. It's a jury trial, right? And then let's say that after that, let's say considers like, no, I think it was still self-defense. I don't agree. I don't think he's a murderer.
Well, if you could point to some facts that would show that this is XYZ why he wasn't actually a murderer, then no, that wouldn't be emotional baggage. But from what I can gather in this case that actually went down after it was litigated, the people that still thought he was a murderer didn't have any facts. All they had was their emotional baggage.
No, you absolutely
That's
have
what I'm
facts.
saying.
That he showed up at a protest with an assault rifle where there was violent activity happening, where he didn't
It
need to be
wasn't
there.
an assault rifle. You're already wrong on the facts.
He had an
just so you know.
AR-15. What the fuck are you talking
That's
about?
not an assault rifle.
What
That's-
is an assault
my
rifle?
God,
Tell me what an assault
seriously?
rifle
An
is.
assault rifle for one has to be fully automatic. That's like the main. The main part of an assault rifle is that it's fully automatic.
I don't
Just
even
so
know
you
if that's true. You're telling me that
It is
U.S.
true.
military carrying M4 carbines with select fire aren't considered assault rifles? Like,
Those are assault rifles. That is an assault rifle.
just because it's fully automatic? It's, I know.
Yes.
Sorry. It's
There
fucking
was an
retarded.
important omission in the Kyle Rittenhouse case. There was one, which is the practice of the entire media elite is to demonstrate to have this fight between BLM, between the peaceful protesters, and this guy who's not supposed to be there, who's doing the job of the police. But there was one narrative that was entirely omitted from the entire coverage of Kenosha and what was happening there. It was that the police cars were on the perimeter. And FBI helicopters or drones or whatever, or planes were in the air filming all of this. This rat experiment as people were fighting each other. And the government was not there to provide
Yo, I must be the unluckiest motherfucker alive. Holy shit, what is this? Dog shit RNG.
Exactly, and that's why it's omitted. It's because it would show a libertarian practice, which is people are responsible for their own self-defense, and when they count on the government to provide that self-defense, they're going to be treated like rats in a rat experiment. They're going to be filmed from above from a drone. Millions of dollars are going to surround them on all sides in a giant cage, and then they're going to be allowed to fight each other, and then the jury has to determine who's
Am I the only one getting annoyed from this guy's voice?
murderer members of Kenosha are the politicians, are the political class in Washington, D.C.
Yeah. Why was there riots there in the first place?
The rest of the conversation.
Destiny, hold on, real quick. Kenosha, it's important, real quick. Why was there riots there in the first place? Because the media misrepresented
that wasn't the
police shooting
media.
from
That
the
was
beginning.
social media. That was the issue, right?
That's media.
No, it was
The
the guy
media
posting
purposely-
a 15-second clip on TikTok. Purposely?
No.
You can show me.
The media-
Show me evidence of that. Show me evidence that
I
they
will.
intentionally lied.
The
Okay,
media
we'll wait.
purposely,
Okay.
media purposely omitted that he had a knife. They purposely omitted that he was a threat to kids in the backseat of that car. They made it sound like the police just shot him because he was trying to get away.
Wait, was this in the initial report?
I'll show you.
No, it wasn't. The initial reports was just a thing that blew up on fucking Twitter. That's why everybody was fucking protesting because nobody had any idea what the fuck happened.
Let me do this.
That's
Let me
why
do this. Let me ask both
Same
sides
thing
of
with
the
Michael
point.
Brown.
Please,
The media.
To summarize my last point, I'm just gonna say that like the fact that you can't even conceive that a person in good faith could disagree that Rittenhouse didn't defend himself, that he was actually a murderer, is like you're partisanly gone. And I'm somebody that I supported Rittenhouse defense, but there are good arguments to be made on both sides for why he did murder versus why it was self-defense. But you can't even engage with that idea, and then you're trying to accuse the media of lying.
engaging with it.
You're not. You're saying the only way somebody could believe is they have emotional baggage.
Let me see if I could ask each
that's
side
what
a
I'm
question.
saying.
Let me see if I could ask each side a question and bring this in, right? For the people on the right, if the media, like say CNN, say my boy Brian Stelter from my shirt here, if he accurately reported all of the facts of the Rittenhouse case and let the people hear all the facts and then said, I think he's a murderer, is that the media being corrupt, or is that just someone outlining the facts and having an opinion?
Are you asking me or?
I'm asking the people on the right.
Oh, I think somebody could have that opinion without them lying, or I mean, they might just genuinely feel that way. Like there are some people that, given all the facts, they rarely ever defend self-defense.
What I'm isolating here is like, is the problem that they have an opinion, or is the problem that they're omitting facts?
That's what I think the problem is. They have an opinion, they have a slant, but it's not lying. It's just people representing their opinions.
It's also that opinion is a part of media.
That's actually a problem. If you look at journalism in maybe the 40s and 50s, now there are exceptions. There's always outliers, right? Not everything, but there is general idea. So there is a distinction between the opinion,
So basically, they put their biases to the side.
The analytics, and the presentation of news. And the core of that idea is that the newsman is your eyes on the ground. Your eyes are not supposed to be doing the thinking. Your eyes and your ears should not have opinions. And in fact, if you're a journalist on location, or you're a news anchor that is just reporting the dry news, you should be as dry as possible, and your opinion should be as hidden as possible. And the language of the time.
Oh my
70
God,
years ago,
fucking
that was generally the
utopia.
language. It was generally how they presented the news, and then there would be a separate.
Yeah, but then they realize that they can get something out of it, so they stop doing that. What the fuck is your point?
Somebody is a journalist would not be able to even appear ethically on that panel. They would not be that type of person. And yet now we have all of this merged. And in fact, if you go to a school of journalism,
This motherfucker is literally trying to basically play. Basically, what he's playing at is the media is doing something wrong. What everybody else is talking about on this panel is the media is doing what it's doing, right or wrong. We have to be able to deal with it. The other guy, no. Let's go back in time. Let's fix the media. Let's have that conversation, which, sure, you can have that conversation, but that's not what this fucking debate is about. Dumb piece of shit. Holy fuck. Waste of people's time.
they will say, well, being unbiased is impossible, therefore we shouldn't even try. That's the new angle. And it's completely different from the past. So yes, I would say if the media was always the enemy, now it's
no shit, Sherlock. Enlighten us.
Real quick, right?
Does that mean we get to answer? Because
if more people had to answer, sure.
I'm saying that because Destiny did it last
okay. I'll ask the leftists real quick, right? If we can separate the idea of their opinion versus the facts, I'll ask the left this. Two-part question. If they intentionally omitted facts of what went on with Rittenhouse, would that be considered unethical and a lie? And do you
Wait a minute, are they seriously having a debate of whether the media does that or not? Just ask yourself the question, can they? The obvious answer you're going to come to is yes. Is it morally wrong? Yes. Is it illegal? No. Do they have an incentive to do that? Yes. Why wouldn't they do that? Or what are we supposed to be living in a world where people are not going to take advantage of opportunities to get ahead in life? Like, what the fuck is going on here? What the fuck is this whole debate about?
There were certain outlets that intentionally
I'm totally
didn't
fucking
report
lost.
things like that Rittenhouse was shot at first, and that Rittenhouse ran.
Like,
to the
I get we shouldn't be jumping to conclusions and fucking making assumptions about, you know, like, oh, the government is doing this or the media is doing that, but these are just like basic fucking laws of life. Like, what the fuck? That seems so brain dead to me. And pointless to even have that conversation. So is one of the side, is Destiny's side arguing of whether they believe that the media, that doesn't seem like to be the case to me. It doesn't seem like that's the debate. Am I making a mistake here? It seems like that's not the point of this debate. If it is, I have zero interest. Or at least, okay, let's just say there is an argument to be made, and in this case scenario, that's not happening. I don't care. I don't care because it's like that. The door for that, the door is there for somebody to just open it. What, bro? That's not... We need systems that we can depend on. That's not something you can depend on or rely on. This is fucking ancient news. Yeah, bro.
the police and
This
things
is
like
fucking
that.
twisted,
It just
man.
it depends on it. Like it might.
Yo,
be,
I'm
here's what
missing
saying,
frames
okay? You
apparently.
might be omitting a fact because you
Skipping
don't think
frames,
it's important. You
whatever
don't think
it's
it's
called.
relevant to the story. Now, some people might say that's bad faith, but like I think there are legitimate disagreements. For instance, was it relevant that 2 weeks beforehand, I think it was 2 weeks beforehand, that Rittenhouse was like in a parking lot saying like, "Oh, I wish I could shoot the people going into Target or robbing the store, or whatever." Right? The judge thought that that wasn't relevant. That part of his character was not relevant. A lot of people think that is relevant, right? But you can have a legitimate disagreement on that. So if I watch Fox News, I'm guessing they're probably not going to talk about that. If I watch CNN, they're probably going to talk about that a lot. I don't think either side is lying. I just think they're using a different process to come up with what they think is an important fact to report about that story.
It's funny you mention that because that's exactly what you'll hear on like far left media. It's like, oh, no one spoke about the time when he said he wanted to kill people 2 weeks earlier. Like that's actually something that people said on the left a lot. But I mean, I watched this from the UK, and I remember even just like absorbing a lot of this from like AP or like The Guardian and shit. And like, I mean, I thought, and I can't remember if it was a CNN or an MSNBC report during the trial when they said that it looks like he's going to get let off. Like it looks like the prosecution's not having a good time here. So I mean, I was able to come to the conclusion that he was innocent in that from like mostly just absorbing the same outlets I normally would. I didn't have to watch Fox News to get to that conclusion. And I think as far as people still calling him a murderer, isn't it, you can correct me if I'm wrong, I thought the people that Rittenhouse was like having a problem with now was people like Cenk Uygur and Whoopi Goldberg who were saying that. But that's also like there are sections of the media that are dedicated to opinion. Like those people are known for, they're not supposed to be reporting like factual. They're supposed to be like giving opinions, which is a legal right.
Well,
so
hang on.
you can have that side of the media as well.
Real quick, can I just interject this real quick? As I've been listening to this, is the back and forth. Destiny, I'd like to ask you a question. Going back to this, would you consider people who are online who are reporting to have some type of media influence? Would you think that people who are online who are discussing these various topics, this and that, they maybe reach large audiences, could have some significant influence on this type of thing?
Yeah, of course.
On narrative, of course, right. And so I just pulled this up. Now this is from you. These are your words. It's incredibly frustrating that people have intentionally and maliciously misconstrued a 16-second cut from a larger conversation to make it sound as though I don't support BLM protests or somehow approve of racist white people indiscriminately killing protesters when this is an issue I have ruthlessly and consistently been on about throughout the years. This is your quote. Those are people who are purposely misconstruing what you said and lying. Is that true? And you just got done saying that these are people who have some degree of influence in the discourse. So you would have to concede that people are intentionally lying, at least about what you said, by your own words, right?
I don't know why you think I'm conceding or disagreeing with you at all. I'm just saying that most of the times when people are assuming that there's like some malicious thing happening, sometimes there can be a legitimate disagreement of facts.
Your
For
exact
instance,
words, it's
on
incredibly
the
frustrating.
Bro, you
People
gotta
have
be able to
intentionally and
engage.
maliciously.
Bro, yes, that's the point. So for instance, I think that you can have a legitimate disagreement given all the facts. You can have a disagreement over the Rittenhouse thing. However, what was the name of the, was it Covenant High School or Coven High School? Who were the kids that
Covington.
Covington, right? I think that was malicious. That was
Who's
a
that?
malicious cut. I don't think, given all the facts, a reasonable person
What
would
was he
ever
doing?
think those kids were acting poorly towards those people. That only happened because of that malicious cut. But I think that everybody thinks that the
I
media
think
does
that's
that all the
bugged out.
time.
That's
But I think in
definitely
general,
bugged
what the
out.
media
Was he
does all the
holding it
time
like
is
that for?
They choose the facts that they think are important, and they omit what they don't think
That's
is important.
definitely
And there
bugged
might be
out.
some bias involved in that. Sure, everybody's got their political leanings, but I don't think the majority of it are these malicious cuts.
You don't think
It's
they
just people-
sensationalize?
Yeah, but you did
sensationalize
say,
and lying is not the same thing.
you did say that these people were malicious towards you. Those were your exact words were
Yeah,
have
I'm-
intentionally and maliciously.
Yeah,
done
do you
this.
think I'm saying that I literally just gave you an example of the mainstream media
Yeah,
being
you
malicious.
did, but what you said is that if all the facts were presented, you don't think a reasonable person would ever come to a different conclusion. That's what you just said.
Yeah, that's correct.
So if that's true, then Zen Shapiro was right. And when you told him just moments ago that it's insane to say that if a person had all the facts, they would always come to the correct conclusion, you're thwarted by your own words, Destin.
I'm not saying that in every single case they would. I just gave you an example where there are some cases where, given all the facts, people might still disagree. For instance, Rittenhouse. But in other cases, given all the facts, I think people probably wouldn't disagree, like the Covington High School kids.
Bro, there are still people to this day that think that he was like some, racist KKK member. Like that still
What
does
does that have to
exist.
do with what I just said?
That insane people, retarded people, can think that can come to a retarded conclusion, even given all the facts, or some emotionally driven conclusion that is incorrect, given all the facts.
Okay.
Okay.
You said that people can't do that with the Covington.
Yeah, well, he said that
Because
given
I
all
don't
the
think
facts,
I don't think
a
they've given
reasonable
all the
person would never come up with that.
Because I don't think given all the
when
facts.
did he say that?
I don't think given all the facts for some cases. For the Covington
He
thing.
just said it, Dylan.
For some
He just said it.
things, for some things, I'm saying if there's been a bad reporting, like a malicious selecting of facts, then yeah, you might be able to come to totally different conclusions. I agree with that. But for the Covington kids thing, if you show me a person that thinks that those kids were evil and racist or whatever, I'm pretty sure if we watched all the footage together, they'd be like, okay, probably not. This is bad reporting. Whereas on the Rittenhouse stuff, even with all the facts, I think
Bro,
some people can still disagree that it was murder or self-defense.
So, I mean, well, which thing, this is so weird because you're speaking out of both sides of your mouth. Which thing is true? Is it true that A, that people have maliciously gone after you and they have misconstrued what you have said in order to advance a narrative by lying intentionally, which you consider to be pushing of a media narrative? And you say that if given all the facts, they would never come through with that type of result. That's what makes it malicious. Same thing that you just claimed was in Shapiro moments ago. Now you're saying, well, it just depends on the case. Maybe in some cases, man. Like, be straightforward.
Be straightforward.
Don't do the gish gallop.
Notice how
Don't do the blah 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 blah.
I'm literally
Just tell
giving you
us.
examples. I just gave you 2 examples or 3 examples. I give you more
Yeah,
if you
you
want.
gave some subjective example. I don't understand. What's the
A
differentiation?
subjective
point?
example. I gave you an
What's
empirical
the
fact.
differentiation point?
I told you the differentiation. I can repeat it, but you're so
Well,
busy
what is
trying to
it
get.
again?
The differentiation is that I believe that there are certain times when the media is cutting things out, not because they're trying to spin a lie or tell somebody something that's non-truthful, but if they genuinely have a disagreement on which facts are important. And I think there are other times when we can be more critical of the media. We go, well, I don't know why you reported this in this way. This doesn't seem like you were just like trying to select what was most important. It seemed like you were actually telling a lie. Those are 2 different things you can do.
Right, so they were lying via omission, or they were just straightforward lying, which is what we're saying the media often does.
No, that's not what he just said.
What if it, Destiny, do you agree that it's at least somewhat common for the media to want to be the first one to report on a given phenomena, whatever it may be, Rittenhouse,
Yep,
Covington,
it's called breaking
who
news,
knows? Yeah, and maybe in order to be the first ones to break the story, they might disclose whatever they know, not having acquired all of the facts yet, but still providing, some narrative based on what they do know, but knowing that they don't have all the facts. Does that happen at least somewhat often?
It's
in
possible. This is
I
why
made
I
that
usually
point
don't.
earlier.
Come on, don't tell me it's possible. Tell me it fucking happens.
Of course, yeah, it happens. Yeah, that's why I don't like breaking news reporting. Yeah, everybody does this, unfortunately. But I don't think it's malicious. It's not malicious. It's people wanting to be first.
Yeah, it sounded like you were agreeing with us because I made that point earlier.
You don't think it's malicious to disclose some narrative on a given story, knowing that
Okay,
you don't have a
I'll clear up the air, seeing as nobody else wants to fucking do it. Okay, so basically malicious means that you have the intent to harm. But that's Steven's argument is no, they don't necessarily have the intent to harm. What they have is the intent to gain. So they want to break the story first. They want to create a narrative around it so the story sells. That is presentable, it's digestible, people eat it up, and they come back for more. That is what the media does. That is the business of media, entertainment, of news, okay? But these guys are trying to put it out forward, and then he's saying, so they're lying about this or they're lying about that. No, motherfucker, they're not essentially, well, they are lying, maybe or maybe not. They are coming to the, that's not the point here though. The point is it's either malicious or it's in, can you say that because there's a gain to be made and by kind of playing with the story it's malicious, meaning that you intend for people to listen to this story, it being somewhat real or not real is intentionally going to harm people, and that's your focus. Your focus and what you are trying to gain out of this is hurting those people. But that's not the Steven's argument. Steven's argument is no, they're not doing that. What they are doing is presenting the story. You're right on that behalf, or you're probably right, or could be right on that. That's not what's being debated. But my argument, or Steven's argument, is saying that there is no malicious intent there. The intent was simply to gain. The end. Like, these guys are trying to paint this fucking picture.
We can argue
Some
that it's
kind of
reckless.
fucking
We can
hidden
argue it's
agenda.
reckless
Yes,
bordering
yes,
maliciousness,
yes.
But it's different than telling an outright lie.
Lie, yes.
No, wait, Zen, I would ask you then, because I mean, this is the point that I made earlier, because yeah, that's like, but that even sounds like you're almost making my point that it's not necessarily malice, but it's more of a systemic issue, because like right now, if
I'm saying
like
that
one
the
media
system of the
outlet,
media is malicious.
yes, so if one media outlet doesn't report breaking news recklessly and without all the facts, then other ones will. So, like, do you have a proposed solution for that? I mean, I feel like I suggested earlier that regulation was a big problem.
What
Mergers are a
pro
big problem.
solution? Are you going to reshape the fucking business industry? Like, what fucking solution are you talking about? There's no solution. Unless you're trying to rebuild the whole system from scratch, there is no other solution. That is the only solution. What are you going to fucking do? Like, you have to incentivize people. The media is incentivized to do that. Are you providing them with a solution to that? Because they still want to profit. They still want to be the #1 news channel. And unless you provide them with an alternative way to get that done, they're going to continue to do that. So, what is your alternative way to do that? That is the question these people need to be asking themselves. Nothing else. Zero. Ah. Motherfucker, like, these things are just simple fucking... Dumb fucks. Can this fucking dungeon, like, drop me something? I'm fucking tilted right now. Why is my fucking stream
the problem exists.
skipping
So you're
frames
moving the
and shit?
goalpost instantly. If you want to have that debate, that's a whole different debate. But right now, we just want a concession. This problem is real and it exists, and that probably makes the media itself an enemy to the people.
Yeah,
I
I feel like if you're gonna make that suggestion, then because then in that case you sound like every single far left like Jeremy Corbyn supporter in the UK, because they made the exact same complaint. First half it was, oh, the media just doesn't talk about him enough. Not enough people are exposed to his ideas. 2017, 2019, lots of people are exposed to it, and he gets less votes. Yeah, and then they'll say, oh, it's all just malicious reporting. But even though most of the time the media were just like reporting on his fuck ups.
I literally don't care about any of that. I just want to know if, based on the facts that you've heard thus far, including Destiny's own quote about the maliciousness against him by people he considers to be media, Do you think that media omit on purpose? And is that something you would consider an enemy to be doing if they're maliciously going after narratives?
Why
that
does
hurt
he keep
you?
saying maliciously?
I've already said in general, I don't believe the media does it maliciously.
Yes, good job,
You don't
Steven.
think that's okay? Let me bring up, since you like MSNBC, you don't think when they bring Malcolm Nance on there and he says your Republican neighbors want to kill you, and that's part of a larger narrative that not just comes from the media, but from Democrats, like Biden saying, you know, MAGA Republicans are semi-fascist, and
don't you
at
think
the same
these
time,
could be opinions? Do you think that they know they're lying, or do you think they might actually believe these things?
well, that's what I'm saying. Is like that's a message that I'm saying that that's what makes the media an enemy of the people.
No, you're
They're
saying they
using
lie.
that.
And that makes
Yes.
them- this makes
Well, no,
totally
no.
different
This is a
argument.
separate issue from lying. I mean, this is just straight up demonization that they're doing to build up a case for basically taking away rights, like the First Amendment, freedom of speech, like these hearings that you saw the other day with the Twitter file hearings. You had Stacey, I can't remember her last name, Perkins or whatever, the Democrat, attacking Matt Taibbi and Schellenberger and saying that, oh, these guys are a threat to us by criticizing and scrutinizing us. They're a threat to us, so you can't do that. Basically setting up this idea or this system where they have free speech, but you
Yo,
don't
give me
have the free speech
fucking
to come back
item.
at them and scrutinize them because it's a threat to their safety. It's the same thing with the unseen January 6th footage. They said, "Oh, we can't let it out there because
Wasn't
it's
the
like,
Twitter
Give me a
file hearings
butcher,
literally
at
the
least.
exact same thing we're doing
Like,
right
I
now?
want a
You-
butcher.
Just stop bringing that up, man.
What?
You gotta stop.
The January
have
6th
to.
stuff, we can't talk about it. We can talk
Oh,
about
my bad,
The,
my bad.
the Twitter files. Fair enough. That's a good point. Go ahead, Tess.
Well, I was gonna say, wasn't she making the same argument that we are making now? That she was saying that these types of media people are enemies of the people. You're trying to say other people are enemies of the people? Like, wasn't that the argument they were making in Congress?
No, like how are they? They're just journalists.
They're not just
the Democrats
journalists. What
have
do
the
you
power.
mean?
The Democrats are the power that the media is supposed to be keeping in check. But she's up there, and the media is echoing her, saying,
Why
"Maybe
are they
say-
connecting it?
Maybe she felt like they acted improperly. It's not possible.
Like, I'm not like saying that it's impossible for them to be like working together, like this secret agenda as a fucking group, and the Democrats are, the politicians are like going over to the media station and giving them a script and telling them you're gonna talk about this today and blah blah blah. Like, why is this a fucking narrative being pushed? Isn't it more reasonable to understand that the media is looking for the story? Who the fuck is telling you, instead of what you're saying, which is like the politicians come first and then they go to the media? Wouldn't it be more reasonable to think that the media goes to the fucking politicians and looks for the story because they're the one who are going to benefit from it the most? Like, what the fuck are you talking about?
But that's only a charge that ever comes out when Democrats are being exposed.
Why are you making?
There's never a threat of calling out Trump or calling out DeSantis. There's never
That's
any
what we
threat to
said,
his
Drontek. Listen, Drontek, when Destiny has a great shirt where he criticizes one of those journalists and he calls him out for not having journalistic integrity, he does so properly because that dumbass journalist should not tell a story about the FBI without asking the FBI to comment. Really. Now, even though it's ridiculous to ask the FBI to comment, even though it's like obvious what the answer is, he should still do it because it should be part of his journalistic integrity. And that's where the standard comes in, which is for your enemies, which are Schellenberger and Matt Taibbi at this given moment, they're the enemies of the Destiny line of argument. For them, there is the law of journalistic integrity. But when the same thing happens with another journalist that supports his position, supports his praxis, supports his ideology, he will not scrutinize
Can you
them
give me
as
an
much.
example of that? Can you give me an example of that I wouldn't scrutinize?
Can I give you an example of something that doesn't appear in your streams?
What?
I'm asking you to give me an example of a journalist that I'm asking.
Where you're criticizing a journalist, it'll be Matt Taibbi.
You
right?
you just accused me that if it was a journalist
Yes.
on my side, I'd let them get away with partisan hackery.
Yes.
I wouldn't I hold them to the same standard. Is there an example of me doing that?
Yes, you need an example.
You would hold him to the same.
Oh my god,
standard.
I'm gonna kill him.
This happens.
I'm gonna fucking kill
When
him.
a major story shows up.
He just
then
backpedaled within like a
the story is sort of allowed
fucking
to
split
be
second.
forgotten, and then we don't go back and we.
What do you mean? What do you mean I lied? You guys all joked earlier. I'm literally no. Shit. Twitch politics. What do you mean I would let this
Yes,
get away?
there
I
is
literally gave you the
exceptions to
example.
everything, you're right.
Okay,
Most
so
base
now
things
it's an
done.
exception. Now it's okay. So you just made that up, just to be clear, right? That was an example of look, dishonest information where you were spreading a lie for absolutely no reason. You're saying that on my end, I would let journalists get away with it. I wouldn't
Yeah.
call them out when I see them do it on my end either. I don't think it's good to ever do that.
And then he called you out on it, and you had nothing to say about it.
It was just recklessness, right? But that's not malice either.
He just claims to know a fact that he doesn't know anything about.
Yes.
Is
Probably.
that malice or is it just recklessness due to ignorance or something?
Oh my god, now it's recklessness and ignorance. Holy shit, overdose Siferi.
But actually, can
Well,
I
are you
Like
saying
whenever
it's
it suits them
earlier?
best.
Wait, no.
Yeah, that's what I want to know. Like,
Okay. No, I've been waiting for like 45 minutes.
Let's hear granted is
When you have-
or recklessness regarding the facts.
If somebody said somebody did something without even saying it, yeah, I would say that's like maliciousness bordering on like, or recklessness that borders on like
Like
maliciousness.
when
Yeah.
the media declares Kyle Rittenhouse a murderer.
No, that's a bro. That's an opinion. What the fuck is
killed
this
a bunch of
panel?
black people.
Zen,
Yes, what is this panel?
Yes, I would agree. If somebody says black,
That's just recklessness, but not malice.
if
right?
somebody
Zen,
says
out of interest, were there what examples are there of mainstream media like presenting Rittenhouse as a murderer, like factually, or were these opinion segments, or was it actually like the news reporting?
None of them presented it factually because it factually wasn't true.
No, you
But
need
they-
to, like, I just need an
they
example
narrated
though.
Make
Like,
it sound like he was a
I'll
murderer.
get you some.
before.
it's
but is there,
whether or
yeah,
not
just
he's
like
a
if there's
murderer,
like
that's a
a CNN headline or
perspective.
something, yeah.
That's a perspective.
Yes, you're right. It's a perspective, but
Yeah,
there is a
and I'm
general
wondering, is that
narrative.
malicious to have that perspective and to convey it to the
I mean,
masses?
No, no.
Rittenhouse did. Hey, Rittenhouse
They're
did
reaching
successfully
so
sue
hard.
CNN, correct? Or was that? Am I thinking of the Covington kids?
Covington definitely did. I
Covington
don't
kids
know.
get a small. They got
Rittenhouse sued
they
somebody.
settled
Did he
with a
not?
bunch of people.
Did he not win some of those
Rittenhouse
suits?
probably did too. But yeah.
I think,
Yeah, I think he
No,
did.
he's in progress. We don't know about that. But
Okay,
what's
okay.
important is, in that story, there was a general idea in that story, which was demonize a person who was defending the wrong community. You know, the audacity of the story was that he was crossing state lines, right? He drove over 15 miles to go to a different community, which he was actually a part of, to defend it. But what was omitted from the story was the fact that there is nothing that compels the US government to actually enforce the law. There is nothing that compels the US government to protect, that small business that he ended up
They've
protecting.
gotten into the
There's
Rittenhouse
nothing
fucking
there.
story
And
now.
They can show images of him,
To be
engaging
clear,
with these
there was no
people from-
business that he protected, right? He didn't protect a business.
Okay, fine. What I saw when the court reporter, when the court presented the images of the FBI filming this whole thing from the air, nobody presented the narrative of how obscene this is. That we are like observed by the government as clashes between people occur, and they don't show up there and then don't enforce the law. And
Yeah, but you're assuming that they did that maliciously, but it might have just been they didn't have the resource at the time. You have no evidence that they did that because they were just sitting there watching us like rats in a maze. It could have been that they didn't have the resources there to deal with it.
These news organizations are not professionals then. Like
They don't need to have those resources. The whole point
Oh my
is that
god. What the fuck is
message
he
the
saying?
show
He's just
portrays
talking out of his
is that
fucking ass,
the
this guy.
individual himself, that business owner, the people in that neighborhood, they're the
Let's
ones who are supposed
fucking
to be
go,
doing
at least
community
some-
policing with
That's
AR-15s
dog shit,
and
bro.
bloody tanks. They have that right in the Constitution. They should be the one providing their own security. And yet the
That's not
messaging is that a
10,000.
person didn't provide security privately in the correct
That's
manner.
your
That's
opinion.
shite.
You're giving
Hold
an
on,
opinion.
Destiny.
That's not
I
a
gave you a
fact.
link. Okay, I gave you a link where CBS continued to say that he crossed state lines illegally, even after it had been established in the trial that didn't happen.
Okay, he
That
did
wasn't
cross
okay.
state lines. I don't know if it was illegal.
Right, it wasn't. But they kept saying that after that was already established that it wasn't.
Let me go to Dylan. You seem to be waiting patiently. Go ahead, Dylan. Maybe you want to take this in a different direction, but
Yeah,
we can come back to this after if we need to.
Yeah, there were two things I've been holding in for a bit. So the first thing I wanted to ask, well, it's actually both of those. The first thing is about the Christopher Columbus statue thing. I looked it up like immediately we talked about it. I haven't been able to comment on it yet. So I looked it up, and I'm looking right here, and I see USA Today, CBS News, Fox
Sure.
News. I'm seeing videos.
Sure,
with
you
over
found some internet
900,000
stories.
views. Well, no, it's internet stories. So 17 cops got injured here. What is the level?
49,
of
49, 49.
I'm looking at the initial reports. The 17 cops got injured here, but okay, maybe let's say 49. What is the amount of coverage that would be? So it's not just that it needs articles on the mainstream news outlets, and it needs news segments, and it needs hundreds.
There is
of
not a
millions of views.
single.
What more does it need?
Dylan, you cannot find me a single example of left-wing political violence that the media constantly there's an
That's not what I
anniversary
asked
of
you.
it.
That's not what I asked you.
That's the
Wait,
point.
Wait. No,
There's
let
no
me finish.
memorialized.
I waited for
Please
45
leave
minutes.
Dylan finish.
You
Okay.
said that you were going to give a specific example of something like this happening where, the media kind of just ignores it and the stuff, like they omitted the facts. But there's CBS News, US Today, Fox News, and there's like hundreds of thousands, like 900,000 views is like the first YouTube video I found from, I think it was WAN covering it. So this got a lot of attention, and I'm sure if I dug longer, I could find more sources.
None of
and
you
so
knew
my
about
question
it.
to you, when you're saying 49 cops injured, what is the amount of coverage that it needs to hit for it now to be fair? Because it could just be that this Christopher Columbus statue just didn't meet the level of, for example, January 6th, which I would agree with.
Yeah, I would just say if a giant group of right-wingers attacked police in that manner, attacking a monument or a BLM monument like that, you would know about it. It would be wall-to-wall coverage. They would say, look, this is example of the right wing rising up and attacking police and their anti-police sentiment. Instead, it's just kind of left to go down the memory hole, just like every example.
So what you're
that
saying
was
is the
never
amount
a
of
major
coverage
news
that would-
story.
So what you're saying is the amount of coverage that would be necessary for this to be fair coverage is if the majority of Americans knew about this specific riot.
I'm saying that left-wing political violence does not get the same coverage or the same standards apply to it as right-wing political violence. It's so rare. Right-wing political violence is so rare, yet you know about every example, don't you?
You said no mainstream outlet covered the story. I can find 3 first.
Well, I don't know if I said that. I said it wasn't. You can find some internet things about it, but it was never a national narrative. There was never like.
Why does it have
because
to be
people
it's
didn't
one
care.
riot? Why does it have to be a
Whether or
national
not
narrative?
things-
Why is this specific statue
Because
so
there's only
important that it
ever a
needs
national
attention?
narrative.
Why does it need more attention, for example, like January 6th? Why does it need to be on that level since it's a statue and not, for example, the process
Okay,
of democracy?
how about the White House in 2020 when the BLM mob attacked the White House,
I
injured
get told about that
I think
all the time.
124
Rob makes
Secret
sure I
Service
know about
agents.
it every single time I talk to him.
Right, but that's not that's something that was the media. The media mocked that. They lied about it. They said that Trump sent out the National Guard for a photo op. That turned out not to be true. That's a lie they told. They also they mocked Trump for having to go to the bunker. There's all these stories when that happens, calling him Bunker Boy.
You're talking about omitting facts here, and we're talking about the amount of coverage. That story you're talking about, I know about that riot. I know about what happened there.
Well, it was never
I
called
think
a
lot of
riot in the
Americans know
media. Can you show me a single example of a mainstream media calling it a riot?
If I Google,
No,
try to
you
look,
can't. I can tell you right now that
I-
it does not exist.
I just
then I
wanted
won't,
to.
but I just
what?
wanted an acknowledgement that
You
the story
invented
was
too
covered by
many-
mainstream news outlets, and it wasn't given the
Well,
coverage.
It's
Dylan,
not the
can I
same.
ask
It's
you-
not the
Okay,
same.
never
I'm
mind.
sorry.
a question?
Okay,
I was
well
just
then.
curious. Should we trust?
Sure, I had a
anything that the
follow-up
Rush-
question though.
Okay.
Oh well, I was just wondering, can we trust anything that the Russian media says?
Probably not.
If they provide enough evidence.
Yeah, which things do you think that we should trust coming out of the Russian mainstream media right now?
I don't
Anything?
know. Give me an example, and if they have
No,
enough
I
evidence,
was asking you for an example of things we should trust.
I don't think
Maybe
you should
something
trust.
we can
I don't think you
verify
should
elsewhere.
outright trust anything reported by Russian state media.
I don't think
Why,
you should
whatever?
trust any.
Probably not. Why? Right now, without you'd verify with other sources.
Should we trust the things that come out of the Ukrainian state media then?
It
My
all depends if
understanding
they
is
present enough
Ukrainian state media ran by the government like Russian state media is?
Yeah, but who
Ukrainian
cares?
isn't it?
I'm
Who
asking
cares?
You, I'm asking
You're not
you
even
if we should or
equipped to
not.
engage with the question if you don't know the answer to that. It's the most important reason
You
we
haven't
even
answered
dismiss
my
something like
question yet.
RT because you don't even know what you're asking.
Just answer my question.
I don't. You don't know what you're
I don't
asking.
need your answer, then justify.
No, I don't. You don't even know what you're asking me.
Well,
you're-
let me ask again.
Destiny,
Should we
I don't-
trust the thing that come out of the Ukrainian state media, Destin?
Destiny, I don't know the answer to the question, so tell me, is it ran by the state in Ukraine? Or
I don't
is it
know.
different?
If it was ran by the state, I probably wouldn't trust them on reporting on the war because it's the fucking
Yes.
state-ran media. But if it's an
Dylan,
independent media, then I'd probably be more keen to trust it. Anything that is
Why?
state media. Why would I not trust a government
Oh my
talking about how
God.
they're doing in a war?
Yes.
I don't know, man.
well-
Go to a
Yes.
hat.
I'm
put some
asking.
green
No,
and
I'm
pick it
asking
out.
you why you think that it would be less biased reporting one way or the other.
Because
for
the
Oh
government
my
being in charge of their
God,
media
bro.
in regards to reporting to war, all of the incentives are lined up for them to lie about it, and for them to get fact checker called out on it. There's no competition.
Thank you. Incentives. Like, why is this never talked about? Why does everybody fail to mention this? I don't fucking get it. Like, this should be the first thing. See, that's how human beings make decisions in life. Are you incentivized to do it? Is there a gain for you to be made in it? Yes, then you're probably going to do it. No, then you're probably not going to do it. Hence, the key word, probably. There is a chance you're not going to do it, even though you're incentivized to do it. There are those people, edgy fucking people who would just not do it. But probably, most of the time, most people are going to head towards what they are incentivized to do. Oh, bro. This is why I doubt that fucking debates are going to do any good for me, because
to state-ran, state-owned media, and directions coming from Zelensky himself, like, literally might dictate what shows up in the headlines. I wouldn't trust that as much as independently ran.
That and monolithic media companies, for instance.
Because media companies don't take their marching orders from the fucking president of the United States.
Yeah, but they're still monolithic and have huge. Some of the media companies are ginormous. What are you talking?
Yeah,
huge.
It's a global media empire.
Okay.
They're all peddling the same shit.
Of course, if they're just out of interest, you guys are talking about Rittenhouse. You guys, wait, you guys are talking about Rittenhouse suing media outlets potentially, right? And I think some of them have already had to issue corrections. I know CBS issued a correction for the state lines thing. Who do you sue if the Russian state media lies? Who issues corrections?
I'm not sure.
No one, exactly. You guys have no fucking idea, because the Russian state media is accountable to no one but the Russian government.
Yes.
That's it.
Good fucking point.
Monolithic media companies which have private insurance that just covers. For
Wait a
all of
minute.
their
Let's
libel and
play
things
that
like this.
out.
If they
That's
lose
an interesting thing that he just stated. That is kind of where it heads. Like, if you have that conversation, that is where it's going to go. Like, what is preventing you? We understand the incentives. There is an incentive in place, so you're probably going to do it. And the only thing that dictates, I would really argue, the only thing that is going to dictate or decide whether you actually do it, so is it possible to happen? Is it probable to happen? Probable, possible, okay? So having an incentive in place makes it possible, okay? And if it's possible, now we go to probable. Okay, so how probable is it to happen? Well, what are the consequences of you doing it? Because if the consequences are you die, then we need to dig a little bit deeper into that. Is it a guaranteed death? Is it like the second you do it, is it a guaranteed death? Because if it is, I would probably argue that 99.9% of people would not do that, even though they are totally incentivized to do it. Because, well, yeah, you're going to die. Like, literally the second you do it. Okay, so is there a world where you can get away with it? Yes. That is the world we live in. People kill people and get away with it. Steal, get away with it. Not all the time, but quite a few times. Quite a lot of the time, probably. Do you see where this goes? But when the state, so the government, is pushing a narrative through the media, like the guy just said, which is a fucking spot on point, and I thank him for pointing that out. Just like, that clears pretty much everything up. It's like, okay, well, what happens if everybody finds out that it's the state who did it? Is the state going to prosecute itself? Probably not. And especially one like Russia. And especially like Russia, meaning that things are not done as in the Western world here. I live here. I can speak for that at least. Bad thing, good thing, meh. Depends on where you come from in the world and how you were raised. In what environment. There are positives and there are negatives. I could probably find a scenario where the negatives outweigh the positives, but still, yeah, you get the point. Anyway, I'm going to finish this run.
In court, they also basically have no accountability.
What do you mean heads roll when people fuck up stories? Of course, people get fired and shit. It's happened before.
Yeah, what happened with CNN?
It's fucking rare. And by the way, the people who are running the actual companies themselves, those aren't the people who edge roll. They might have a patsy or somebody
Because they're
who
probably not
reported the
making
story.
day-to-day editorial decisions.
Wait, didn't we see like with the Dominion lawsuit
They
on
have
Fox,
company
how Fox
policies.
immediately changed their coverage and how they were changing like Dominion voting in the voting machines because they were scared of the lawsuit because they were lying about it.
Not, please. Can we not talk?
Yeah,
about
we can't
this?
talk about this. But we can talk about this in
Going out of your way.
general
POS issues.
in the most general sense, right? The media, any media, is about messaging, right? And the fundamental way you can evaluate this is that they're messaging for their own practices, for their own preferred way of doing things, and against any competing
No,
faction.
they're going. It
So all
doesn't
you have
need to be
determine,
their
First of
own.
all,
It doesn't need to be their own. It's where they are incentivized the most. They might not agree with the narrative they're pushing. They might directly be against it. But if they are incentivized more to do it because they are against it,
is there the media
then they
against
need to
certain
weigh the
groups of
pros and
people?
cons. But they don't
That's,
necessarily
always
agree
true.
with it.
But we want to be more specific, let's say towards the United States. Are the
Sweat
biggest
them
media
up.
companies accountable to people outside of exceptions that are where the offense is great enough where it falls under some U.S. law? You know, are they accountable to the people? Well, in general, no. They're accountable for either the states or the state corporations. And so that means that their messaging is fundamentally against you, the viewer. It is
Didn't we
against
just
the
say
viewer.
the
It's
Covington
against
kids were
his
able to sue
values.
successfully and get money from CNN for lying about them?
I'll explain why. Right. Why is this an exception? Because it was a situation so egregious where the facts were so grossly misrepresented, then he could sue also.
I swear to God, if I
made it
finish the
very,
day with a fucking pair of
significant is
boots, I'm
he
gonna
was,
get so pissed off.
a minor at the time and was not
No,
a public
probably not.
figure.
Yeah.
But if he was any public figure, if he was like a political commentator or a member of the opposing party, then he can be slandered all the time
Gotcha.
because he doesn't have
So
one
they have
of those,
ultimate monolithic.
one of those exceptions in
They have
law.
ultimate monolithic power to do whatever they want, except for when it's a kid. Okay. So like, there's always going to be a reason why like everything you're saying is absolutely true, and any exception I give is like, well, that's different. What about Fox News getting sued for the Dominion machine shit right
we
now?
still have rules against targeting kids. It doesn't matter whether it's Fox News. All of them serve certain groups. I'm
What about
going to
Alex Jones
disagree
getting
that
sued?
Fox News. I'm going to disagree that Fox News served the interest of the American people.
Oh,
You know,
okay.
I see even somebody like Tucker Carlson is just a steam valve. He's 2 years late on most topics. You know, I can't discuss the specific topics that are current, but he's very often late. When the story is deflated, he reinflates it under a new angle. And there is such a concept to the steam valve, even in the Russian government. There's always some clown like Zhirinovsky that shows up and criticizes Putin in public, but people coalesce around him. But he's a clown, and so it never gets to anything. It's the same thing with Tucker Carlson. You can always quote his the lawsuit against him, where his lawyers had to use the same defense that MSNBC uses, that he is actually not accountable for what he's saying. So yes, in that context, they are both the enemy of the people. They don't present an alternative that the American people can use. They don't present any alternative practice. It's always government for us or government for you. It's always government. It's always the state. It's always the big corporation. It's never anything grassroots.
I got another follow-up question for Drone Tech. So Drone Tech, earlier we were talking about this hearing where the Democrats were going really hard after your boy Matt Taibbi, or I forget to pronounce his name or whatever, but they were going after him, and you were really concerned that they were going to go after his First Amendment rights, or that the way they were directing it, it makes you worried about the First Amendment. Do you think the framing of the statement, the media is the enemy of the people, would make it harder or easier for the government to go after the media, pass more regulations on how they can talk about the news and what they can present and what they can't present? Because that's how a lot of nations like Russia, or recently the protests have been going on in Georgia due to the foreign agents bill. That's a lot of the stuff that precedes a lot of the most authoritarian legislation around media and NGOs.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that. Yeah, I mean, if the media were acting as like a check on power and the government did that, that would be bad. But the media is not. They're like hiding accountability from the government. No, I mean, like there's just this long list of things. Many of them I can't talk about here, but there's more, like many examples. We'll just talk about. Can we talk about Hunter Biden? I don't know. Like the whole Hunter Biden laptop story, the intelligence, former intelligence that came out and said, along with the FBI, kind of tipping off Facebook and the big tech agents that, oh, this could be Russian disinformation. They very likely swayed the election. They interfered in the election by doing that.
You mean kind of like when Comey, our own intelligence, came out and made that scathing remark about Hillary Clinton and their email thing? Also,
Well,
to be
that
clear
was
on the
just
Twitter
Hillary's own
files,
doing, though.
to be clear on the Twitter file, that's funny. To be clear on the Twitter files, there was no direct communication from anybody in government or the
There was.
FBI telling Twitter
There
to
was.
censor the Hunter Biden story. That's not true.
Like
was.
how,
They
how,
direct- yes,
how,
they
how,
actually-
how is this happening right now? How is one of them saying there was and the other one saying there wasn't? Isn't there just like one fact? Isn't there like documentation, recordings, videographic, and fucking pictures? One of them hasn't done their fucking homework. I don't know the answer to that, by the way, but I'm just saying, like, wouldn't it be cool to have a place? Maybe let me think about this for a second. Maybe wouldn't it be cool to have a place where you can go and fact check everything? Oh, we have a place like that. But then some people don't trust it. And therefore, anything it's just like, yo. Because you have to understand that if there was a place like that, and if everybody objectively knew this is the place to go, those are the facts, this conversation would not be here right now. They would not be discussing that. They would be discussing other more important things. What have I sold? Give me gold. Absolutely nothing. Shit game. Sheesh. Okay, so we've stopped here now. It looks like it wants to go for a little bit up, a little bit of a bounce. Is it going to use that as resistance and then head on lower? Possibly.
Talked to the guys that like did these fucking stories, and they admitted as much. No, there was not. There was never any direct communication.
Did you see the hearings yesterday when Jim Jordan
which guys
dropped
did you
the
talk
examples?
to who did the stories?
Fuck, I don't remember what the two. Somebody in chat will have the two names, but two of the journalists I think that were involved in these Twitter files. There was never a direct communication with about Hunter Biden to Twitter. That never happened.
Well, they say there's stories that are Russian disinformation. The request that came from the FBI.
Wait a minute, you son of a bitch. Did this just happen?
Laptop story, the intelligence former intelligence that came out and said, along with the FBI kind of tipping off Facebook and the big tech agents that, oh, this could be Russian disinformation, they very likely swayed the election. They interfered in the election by doing that.
You mean kind of like when Comey, our own intelligence, came out and made that scathing remark about Hillary Clinton and their email thing? Also,
Well,
to be
that
clear
was
on the
just
Twitter
Hillary's own
files,
doing, though.
to be clear on the Twitter file, that's funny. To be clear on the Twitter files, there was no direct communication from anybody in government or the
There was.
FBI telling Twitter
There
to
was.
censor the Hunter Biden story. That's
There
not
was.
true.
There was.
They
That's not
direct.
true.
Yes, they
No,
actually.
I literally
Yes,
talked to the
yes,
guys that,
there
like, did
was.
these fucking
Okay.
stories, and they admitted as much. No, there was not. There was never any direct
Did you
communication.
see the hearings yesterday when? Jim
Did you
Jordan
see the
dropped
hearing?
examples?
Who did the
The
stories?
example.
Fuck, I don't remember what the two. Somebody in chat will have the two names, but two of the journalists I think that were involved in these Twitter files. There was never a direct direct communication with
So-
about Hunter Biden to
Shut the
Twitter.
fuck up.
That never happened.
Shut the
Well,
fuck up.
they say Russia.
oh,
There's
oh,
stories of
okay.
Russian disinformation.
Yep.
Coming.
Yeah, never mind.
The request that came from the FBI was this person needs to be banned. Please get rid of this person. They the dashboard that they were
The
using to
FBI
sort of
never said you need to ban somebody. Never. That didn't happen.
They
either.
requested. Yeah, they hold on, I can get it for
Okay,
you.
They
you
said
you
if these are
literally
accounts
just
that
ban.
might ban your
Oh,
TOS. They
son
gave
of
them
a
like
bitch.
200,000 accounts for this, and Twitter banned like none of them. So no, there was
Right.
never.
Well, that and I want to. Yeah, that is something interesting because they were basing this on Hamilton 68, which is again Democrats and former intelligence operatives. There was what's his face from the Weekly Standard on there as well.
What kind of accounts were they asking them to ban?
They were just companies and just regular people, but they were saying that these were Russian bots and troll farms.
Why did
But
they
it
say they
turns
were
out
Russian
none
bots?
of these people were.
You don't know that.
Huh?
You don't
You
know
don't
that.
know that. You
we know
don't
that from
even
the
know
Twitter
your
files
files.
No,
because
we don't.
Yoel Roth said himself that there was no evidence that
This
any
guy's
of these
just talking
accounts
out his
had
ass.
anything to do with Russia.
Why are you quoting Yoel Roth
said that
now when
himself.
Yoel Roth also said there was no direct communication about Hunter Biden? Do you just selectively listen to him? Because he also said that on 3 different occasions on his hearing.
Well, I think he's covering his ass. And
Oh my
did you see
God,
the hearings?
kill me, dude.
Listen,
Here's the reality.
did you see the
If
hearings
you
where Jim
read-
Jordan was giving examples?
Yep, I've seen. Yes, yeah. Have you heard the hearings where? Or hold on, not even the hearings. In regards to the Twitter files, when the FBI was asking things to be removed, those accounts they said were all newly created accounts that were following, I think, 2 or more like Chinese fucking ambassadors and politicians, and that's why the FBI asked for those to be removed. They weren't saying like, please silence these free American speaking people and blah 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 blah. That was not happening from the FBI. And the 2 people I talked to were Leighton Woodhouse and David Zweig. Those are the 2 people.
I didn't see their bylines on the Twitter files. Let me say this real quick.
Son of a
I
bitch.
just want to say
Wait,
real
David
quick.
Zweig
and
Has
literally was the
nothing
one
to
that
say
did
about it.
Series 6, I believe. And Leighton Woodhouse, I
Fucking
don't know if he was
waste of
involved directly
time.
with them, but he's friends with all the journalists. Was he not?
I could be wrong. I'm open to eating. I just want to say this real quick. I just want to let people know there's still room for callers. So if you follow that link that the people are putting in the chat, the mods are putting, you could go to the Discord, and there you could get vetted to call in, and you can ask any of our panelists any questions here at the 10 p.m. hour. Also, we will be reading super chats, so still room for that to go ahead and put super chats in, and we'll read them. Sorry, not trying to
Follow up the drone check.
But yeah, hold on. I wasn't done with Dylan though.
Hang on, real quick.
Yeah.
it's not related. You can also find the Discord link in the video description of this video.
Yeah.
So if you want to get in that way, you can if you don't see it in the live chat.
Okay,
But
so
what I was
my
going to say,
follow-up to
Dylan, is that most of the media is running cover for the government. Like the Nord Stream 2 pipeline story is another good example.
Wait, how is that a good
Well,
example
we
when the
can't really make any
mainstream
conclusions
media?
about Nord
Wait,
Stream pipeline.
The mainstream media is literally reporting that it seems like our intelligence is saying it was a pro-Ukrainian group that might have been the ones responsible for bombing it.
Right, exactly. Running cover for the Seymour Hersh story, saying that we did it, the U.S. did it, and on top of that, we have multiple videos. We have Biden saying, if Russia does this, there won't be a pipeline anymore. We have. I forget who it is. Somebody else in the administration talking about, wouldn't it be great if we could get rid of Russia and sell, make a pipeline straight to Europe?
The Seymour Hersh story, as far as I'm aware, it was like a mine detector or a mine detecting type ship that laid the bombs that they did the operation off of. There was none at the NATO drills that he talked about in the Seymour Hersh story. There's multiple holes in the Seymour Hersh story that makes me not just take it at face value and makes me have a lot of questions. And so I don't think you should take it at face value.
Pro-Ukrainian group?
Definitely. Wait. And by the way, Seymour Hersh's source that the whole story is built upon is unconfirmed. We have no clue what it is. He says, "Oh well, it's a source. I can't tell you, but I can't tell you." And like,
but Biden's own words.
We can't make.
Okay, wait, not to call you.
Biden himself said that this is what we would do.
Biden did not say we would blow up the pipeline.
He said there would be no more pipeline. I believe.
Yeah, he said there would be no pipeline, but we can't make any conclusions off the evidence that is.
And pro-Ukrainian group so vague. Like I can't believe it.
By the way, pro-Ukrainian group. Let me be clear. The conversations. I'm in Austria right now. I just came out of Germany. I was having conversations with Germans. A lot of Germans are fucking pissed at the idea that Ukraine could have done this. And I can understand why some of them might be pissed that Ukraine could have done this. I don't understand how diverting the attention to Ukraine, which could possibly, if they did do it, could possibly stop weapons shipments from Germany or other countries if it becomes a massive scandal, turn public sentiment against Ukraine. I don't know how that benefits the United States. That's actually it's a terrible scenario.
Where's the story in the media?
Some of those
talking about it.
Did some of those people that you talked to, did they just not care, or did they think it was no big deal?
Some of them were like, "I'm happy it's gone." Other ones were like, "I think this is a massive issue."
Yeah. So why did you omit that? Do you think?
Why did I admit it? Because that wasn't important when I was talking about it.
Right, but it was important, right? So it's actually there's a confliction
important
here,
for me.
right? So you omitted it for a reason that you were trying to narrative build, right?
narrative. You're just trying to be snarky, and I don't understand. So
It's not
I don't
smart.
understand.
This
I don't
is the whole
understand.
point.
Andrew, I don't understand why me mentioning that there were Germans who are also happy the pipeline is gone is important for me to describe.
Oh
how it
shit,
could
I was
be
thinking, where the
possibly bad
fuck
for the
is
Germans
it?
to have the scandal break,
I was
because
looking
no
at the
matter how
guild
many Germans
name.
are
Because
happy
you're
it's
presenting
gone, it's
one
still,
side.
You're not letting me
because
finish. You're not letting me finish, Andrew. You do it with
you asked
everybody.
me a question.
You do it with everybody. You're not letting me finish.
Don't ask me a question and then not give me time to respond.
You're right.
Makes
I
no
should never
sense.
talk to you. You're correct. So
Dylan, finish, please.
It's because you're afraid, Dylan.
If
It's because you're
it's
afraid.
not,
You know it.
I'm absolutely terrified.
All right, then debate him one-on-one. Not right now,
makes-
but another time. Will you? Dylan, will you?
Well, it depends on the topic. If it's interesting.
Yeah, okay, we'll organize it. Cool.
All right, whatever. Anyway, let him finish.
Okay. I don't understand how me mentioning that there's going to be Germans who are pissed off at the Ukrainians if the Ukrainians did blowing up a pipeline that connects them to Russia. I don't know why it would be important for me to also mention that there's separate Germans who might be happy with it. No matter what, that is going to turn more of the sentiment against Ukraine than in favor of Ukraine. There is no way that story is covered. That's
There would need to be an effort to do that. There would need to be an effort to make that happen, which there is none.
Like, nobody takes you seriously, bro. Like you just chatting out your ass or the whole fucking debate.
Drone Tech. I'm not going to argue that there isn't examples of the media behaving poorly or not being a great check on power, but there are examples of people being a check on power. During the Trump administration, I don't think you're going to argue that the media did not criticize Trump enough. I think.
Well, of course they do a Republican administration, yes.
When it comes
and
to
then
Biden,
it changes.
when it comes to Biden, the coverage of his border stuff has been immense from right-wing media, from even sometimes centrist media, just hammering him on it, and that has made him change and even reenact some of Trump's old policy, making him directly change his policies. That is the media. Even though I might disagree with what he's doing now, that is the media in a way holding to him account, even if I disagree with how they're holding him to account.
What about Are they attacking Biden? Are they attacking Biden for that?
Yes,
I'm not seeing that anywhere.
Biden on Afghanistan. What do you mean? Biden's constantly getting attacked on immigration. Absolutely. And
From Fox,
he got
yeah.
hammered
From
on
Fox,
Afghanistan.
yeah.
He got hammered by everyone on Afghanistan. If you poll American people on how he handled the Afghanistan withdrawal, it was not pretty.
I don't really want to pin you guys against each other, but like I feel like Zen.
No, can I
earlier
get
on
an
made it
acknowledgement that there have
pretty-
been examples of the media holding Biden to account?
I watch a lot of media and I just don't see the same energy.
Did we see the Afghanistan thing that literally resulted in Biden's lowest popularity polling ever?
Absolutely. Yeah, but the media kept the favorable coverage just kept going though. I mean, they kept when look, the media just repeats whatever the administration says. If they say there's no inflation,
That's not
we've
true,
redefined
because
inflation, they
the
go along
Afghanistan
with
story
it.
Showed that they did not go along with Biden's story when he was getting interviewed about it. For example, when they brought to him, "Hey Biden, there was Afghans falling off of the planes," and he was like, "Oof, well, you know, it kind of sucks." They hammered him on that. He's like, "Oh my God, he's so callous. He doesn't care. He's abandoning our Afghan allies. This is absolutely horrible."
Maybe on Fox.
They hammered him on that. Not on Fox. Also
every
on
outlet. That
on
video of
every
people like
outlet I
clinging onto
saw.
the plane for dear
Almost
life and shit
every
like
day.
that. There's no way that makes Biden
They
look
played
good,
that
right?
on loop. They played that on loop on every major outlet. It resulted in his lowest polling data, like Destiny said.
Yep.
All right, so here's.
I feel like sorry.
Let me just say that the networks have been skipping. The networks have not been, as far as Afghanistan goes, they have not been reporting on these hearings going on. It's been pretty much a big zilch on that reporting.
Because the whole Twitter files has been a big
Hang on,
zilch.
Lonerbox wants to pit us against each other. Please go. You've been trying.
Okay,
to
go for
I
it.
said I don't want to pin you guys against. I feel like
okay.
Zen. I feel like
Let's go.
earlier on you made a pretty
I
good
want you
point
to.
about. I feel like you made a pretty good point earlier about how one of the problems with media is that they're incentivized financially to get in on a breaking story very quickly, but that might lead them to be conclusive in a way that they shouldn't be because they don't have all the information. But then it seems like Drone Tech, like Europe with the pipeline, you seem to be like a bit bothered that they've been kind of like broad with the Ukrainian pro-Ukrainian group, even though like we don't have the information yet. We don't know who did
Well,
it.
no, I'm just saying like
Anything
it's just funny
conclusive
that
about
came
it?
out. That story popped out like a few days after the Seymour Hersh stuff, and it's just like, oh no, a pro-Ukrainian group did it, and it's just like what? It
Both
just
are
seems
bad. Both are bad. By the way,
Right,
there is
but-
an alternative. Wait. There is an alternative narrative that I have heard, and this is like the most pro-Ukraine narrative you can have. That certain Russian oligarchs blew up the pipeline because it served their specific financial interest, and when they undermined their war effort because they're not able to import the goods that they used to under all the sanctions, and they want the war to end as soon as possible. That is one of the most pro-Ukraine narratives that can be pushed. The government didn't do that. Didn't even entertain that idea.
I think if all this happened under Trump and you had a video of Trump saying, "Oh, if Russia does this, the pipelines won't be there," that clip would be repeated on news constantly, and you never see that clip. You never see the clip of I can't remember who it is.
I've seen it. So
I'm sure you have, but like CNN, MSNBC, ABC, CBS, NBC, PBS, NPR, they're not like constantly reminding people. It's just like the left-wing political violence versus right.
What do you mean constantly
Just like
reminding?
white
Like every
people being shot by cops versus
what
black
is your
people.
standard? Do you need to like hear it every single time they talk about the story? Because
No,
it's not
I want the
direct
same
evidence of
standard
anything.
applied. Like when an unarmed white guy gets shot by the police, I want to see media outrage about it instead of like nothing. And then when a black guy gets shot, total outrage that leads to riots, and then it turns out the shooting was totally justified.
Look,
it's like
I don't
just out
want
of interest,
speculation. Wait, well, let me finish with this quick. I don't want speculation on the Nord Stream story. There's been so much speculation on it. Hate it, and that clip right there is only going to contribute to more speculation because we're not working with hard facts, and everybody's throwing out different theories with basically no evidence. And Seymour Hersh's own story that you're talking about has multiple holes in it, and his source is private. We don't even know what his source is. It's not a big surprise that they aren't covering it like crazy.
Also, when white people get killed, the Ben Shaver shit got a lot of coverage in the media. We all watched that.
I gotta end it here in this sense, right? We're gonna do an hour of call-ins. If you want to call in, that Discord link's in the description of the video. Also, it's been in the chat, so go ahead. We still have room for more callers. Get into that Discord. They'll vet you there, and they'll give you the link to be able to call in. What I want to do is give everyone around a minute to give their final thoughts on the topic proper. Then we'll get into the super chats and the calls, and I'm sure there'll be more arguing about it there. But I want to wrap this portion of it up. So we'll go in reverse order that we did the opening. So Casimir, if you would like to start, go ahead. You have about a minute. You can give any thoughts you want to, closing statements on this.
I think that we need to establish like a universal principle instead of discussing these particular details. And the principle is that there's always some media that presents some praxis, and if you're operating against their practice, you are their enemy. And that's always true. There's always going to be some media that is the enemy of some people. Once we understand that, and once we agree to that, I think the proposition is a bit silly then. But then we can ask which people, which media, and whether they are actually the enemy. And I think in the case of the United States, in general, the media, most state corporate media, is against the people because they support this tiny oligarchy in Washington, D.C. That has to control a country of 300 million plus. That has to get them to accept that this is a proper principle for people in Washington decide what people in Alaska do with their gold mining, for example. And in order to establish that, they have to push a certain worldview. And because of that, I do believe that they're the enemy of the American people. But any media, even if you take alternative media, there's going to be some people that they're the enemy of. For example, if there's a libertarian media like Mises Institute, they're going to be the enemy of the US government because they seek to abolish it. So I think the proposition is a little bit silly. But it was fun engaging on. Thank you.
All right. Dylan, go ahead. You have about a minute.
So modern reporting has a lot of problems. Sensationalization, 24 hours news cycle, like encouraging hardcore breaking news that makes it so people just have to get the story out as fast as possible, not really caring if they get everything accurate, has a lot of problems. But I have never, I can't think of a single historical figure who has said something along the lines of the press is the enemy of the people. It did not end up being a huge monster, did not end up being a horrible person. When we talk about using that phrase, it could be used in so many just horrible authoritarian ways, and it honestly kind of scares me when Trump says it. Definitely when he's the same person who's talking about opening up the libel laws, the same person who said that we should permanently suspend the U.S. Constitution. That's somebody I would not trust with the First Amendment rights, and I don't think we should trust people who generally throw that phrase out there so willy-nilly, because I don't see that phrase being used towards good means. Besides that, I think we've displayed a few instances where the press has held power and institution to account and tried to hold them to some responsibility. I don't think it happens every time, but it's the work of good journalists and good media outlets and people working for more press integrity to push our media to do better, not to call them the enemy and demonize them, make it easier for the government to crack down on the media, and probably ending with them having a stronger control over it.
Okay. All right. Thanks so much. Let's go over to Zen. Go ahead, Zen. You got about a minute.
All right. Yeah, I think as far as the debate topic, I think the left side did actually concede on multiple occasions, albeit implicitly, that the media is doing things that are not in the best interest of the people, and you could say that's the enemy of the people. I wish we could have got into more what I said in my opening, that the media as a whole, when we include academia, when we include social media, when we include music, sports, movies, all these kind of things, they create this like nihilist worldview, and that creates like this absurd cognitive dissonance where no matter how blatantly obvious it is in front of you, you still reject the truth of the matter, the absolute truth of the matter. But I will say that the left side, Dylan and Destiny in particular, are very good apologists for the globalist regime and the mainstream narrative. They're very good at peddling what CNN and MSNBC and all these guys tell you, even though I think there's a lot of gaping holes in all of that. But you know, it's also because people like Drone Tech here, who I want to have on our side. You're playing too much of the partisan political game, which is what the media is also peddling, and allows Destiny and Dylan to continue peddling their narratives that they want. The only one on the left side that has an ounce of sense, I think, is Lonerbox. I don't think we agree on pretty much anything, but you do seem to have an ounce of sense in you on certain topics, so I'll give you that charity. But I did enjoy the panel. I did enjoy the conversation, so thank you all for being here.
Okay, let's go to
Basically,
the only
fuck
lefty
everyone
with sense on
here.
the No, let's go to Lonerbuck. Go ahead. Do you have a minute?
I think given that a lot of these arguments are so almost identical to things that you hear from like the really radical left, it kind of tells you that the media probably does just like represent a lot of the views that come from the political center, because that's where most people are. Most people are not libertarians. Most people are not revolutionary socialists, which is probably why you would feel like if you were on the more extreme conservative or whatever else than the average American or whatever else, you wouldn't feel like the media represents you properly. But I mean, you can either cry about that, or you can work to get your messaging and grow your movement so that you are more represented in media. You can start your own media. I don't know. I could just make the argument that media is run by capitalist owners or states who are in bed with capitalist owners, and most people are not capital owners, therefore the media is an enemy of the people. But at the end of the day, more people are probably pro this system than they are like socialism. So I think it's like, unfortunately, like kind of reflected. I think a lot of the problems are a lot to do with like monopoly or just like systemic interests, or like the drive to get stories out for profit and things like that, which you can probably work around with like some policies. I'm still looking for this story about the media constantly reporting Kyle to be a murderer as fact. It looks like he's just suing a few people who did like opinion stuff, and the other mainstream outlets that did report false facts have made retractions. So I don't know.
I just got to say, before we move on, one of the ironies is if there was something the media was reporting, you would see it, and if there isn't, you wouldn't. So I was going to say, like, yeah, what about that big left-wing riot in my town? And then watch Dylan furiously look it up for, like, ever and be like, yeah, you didn't find it, did you? It proves those.
I waited for 45 minutes.
But I see what you're saying, though. Andrew, go ahead. Do you have a minute?
I put my hands on my head. It means I'm super right. My rhetoric is great. And I said wait 60 times. So you know, when I say wait 60 times, that means I'm about to say something important. So wait. You guys conceded our entire argument. You completely and totally agreed with us that the media is corrupt. They run with their own narratives. I brought up Destiny's own words. I've actually, maybe the only one on the panel, I read Destiny's manifesto. He brings up these types of things over and over again as his own narrative, in fact. And I think in his manifesto, he was even trying to be somewhat unbiased, right? Surprisingly, I think he was. But inside of this, you see that these keys exist, and these keys are, one, the thing that turns the major lock is that Destiny himself has been crucified by false media narratives. He knows that it's true. He's only arguing with us because we're on the right, but I don't even think he believes the shit that he's saying. To be perfectly honest with you, he knows that there's maliciousness that's out there in media presence. He agreed what media presence was. It's unbelievable to me that he would even argue against this, but here he is. Now, I have the most important question of the night that I just want to ask Destiny directly. I was not able to the entire debate. Destiny, did you pork Brittany from Politically Provoked? Like, did you drive up in your Coomer mobile and did you give her the old in out? Did you do it, Destiny?
All right. I want to know. I want acquiring minds.
And hang on. Let me finish. And before I end it, I just want, before Destiny says none of your business.
What's up, there, bro?
If BX Bullet humped Zerka. So I think it's fair that I ask him the same question. I think it's fair. Right. Anyway, go ahead.
It's over, right? He doesn't have to respond to that. Drone Tech, go ahead. You got a minute.
Yeah, I think the other side, you guys did make some decent points, and I see where you're coming from, but just what I've observed over, you know, the 20
That was
years
low,
or
by the way.
25 years I've been
That was
following
low
this stuff
from
is
him.
that you know, since at least the year 2000, it
Very
seems
low,
the media
low.
got staunchly partisan, and it's only gotten worse as we've gone. And what's happening is you hear the media talk about it all the time, like there's two realities in America, and that's what I worry about, is that the media, there's more of the what I call Democrat state media than there is the other side. And although I think there's plenty of faults with the other side too, very similar ones, they do the same thing, but and Fox is the #1 watch station, but when you have all the other news networks out there constantly demonizing them, calling everything, anytime they're criticized or the Democrats are criticized, they call it right-wing conspiracy theories or you know that kind of thing, white supremacists. What you essentially have is half the country just dismisses anything they hear, and they believe anything the Democrat state media says, and that's a problem when Democrats are in control, because you know essentially what they're doing is setting up a two-standard system where the other side essentially gets criminalized and censored out of existence, and you know you have what's left. And I really see that happening. You see it with what can't be spoken of, and they said you can't release that stuff because it's going to be a security threat. You can't scrutinize us because it's a security threat, because the other side's so violent, and right-wing political violence is the most prominent thing. And you know, I think that's what I think makes them the enemy of the people, because essentially they're turning half the country into an enemy of, you know, the other side, which gets portrayed as almost holy. Like their policies are never wrong. You never see any real scrutiny of Democrat policies because they're doing it for. I disagree. Not the way, like when I turn on NBC every day, just broadcast news, CBS, they're talking about Republicans. Like I very rarely see them going scrutinizing a Democrat policy, and so that's where I think the danger is. I think that we're kind of moving towards there's a Chinese activist named Weiwei, and you know he's talked about it before, how the media is trying to enforce a certain political correctness is very similar to what you see in China, where the state and the media, they enforce a kind of unity political ideology. And I feel like that's exactly what we're seeing forming in the US. And the other side, our side, is getting smaller, dwindling more and more, until eventually you know, essentially being standing against their agenda, the Democrats, the left, whatever you want to call it, will be considered dangerous, terroristic, you know, white supremacist, racist, simply opposing them or criticizing them at all. And so that's what I think makes them enemy of the people, because that's what we are to them. We stand in the way of their agenda, and that makes us the enemy.
Okay, all right, thanks. Destiny, go ahead. You have the last word.
Wait.
Come on.
Okay, go ahead.
Zed, he didn't interrupt you, please.
I think that panel shows are the enemy of the people. That's all I got.
All right.
Yeah, fair enough. I didn't expect him to say anything else.
How much
That was so
responsibility do you feel
fucking
you have,
low.
particularly to go out to the alt-right, who, as you say, some of them have.
Raising that shit about Britney. Like, what the fuck? How old are you? Child. Right, boys. This is gonna take a lot of time to sort my fucking. It's quite organized, not gonna lie. There's some shit in here that actually sells for quite a lot. Well, there was. But prices have really come down on something, at least. Like, things that are actually worth something, they really stand out. Like, they're just like... Like, they're actually hard to get, but their prices are insanely good. Like, these are not that easy, but I've got a couple of them. All right, well, there you go, boys. And we're back at it tomorrow again. This looks like it wants to do a bit of fuckery. Talking about the chart. It's just doing what it was doing. It wants to bounce a little bit, shake it, and do a bit of everything. And then it might continue its descent, or we might do a little bit of a bounce, touch the resistance, and then continue onwards down. Is probably the two scenarios I'm leaning towards. Once we do get up to that resistance level and pass it, then that theory goes out the window, but we'll see tomorrow. Right. Time is money. I'm off to bed. Make money work.